Hello, faithful listeners, and welcome to All Hail the King, a podcast where we delve into the mystic, mysterious, and often macabre world of Stephen King adaptations. My name's Garin, and I'm joined by my co-hosts Joe and Viv. On this episode, MOON. That spells podcast.
Talking about The Stand.
We're talking about The Stand. This is a big book.
This was a mistake.
Yeah, we were talking
before
about
we
this
get into anything else. So how we plan these episodes is we usually do one big one, not only culturally, but like physically a big book because I have to read them. And then some some mini stories, short stories, novellas. And we did that for this. We did It recently. And then we did Creepshow and Mr. Harrigan's Phone. Creepshow had some short stories and Mr. Harrigan's Phone is a short story. But we didn't really consider the fact, even though I brought it up in It, that It and The Stand are King's longest books.
Yeah.
So perhaps we shouldn't have done this now, but also I did read it. Finished it a while ago, so...
If I recall, though, when we were planning these, you suggested The Stand.
Yeah. But
because you had the book.
I mean, yeah, to be fair, I did have the book. I fully believed that it was my choice.
Although we were this was meant to be another episode's time, but we've had to adjust the schedules because we're going away on holiday. Yeah,
so we would have had a tiny bit more time. I mean, I didn't struggle to finish the book. It is just a very big book.
And then you found out about
I found out there was more shit. Yeah, I found out about more shit. So I'll go through all that in the when we talk about the book. But yeah, we're talking about The Stand. Do either of you know anything about The Stand going into it?
I knew some stuff about The Stand from, I think it was The Shining commentary, the Mick Garris one, and also from getting some clips for the Instagram and TikTok shorts before. Specifically, I got clips from the 2020 Stand, which we will be covering in the next episode. So I knew about the inciting incident and the Don't Fear the Reaper scene.
Okay.
But that's mostly all I knew. Otherwise, it was just that picture on the book of them in the desert.
Yeah, that awesome cover.
Mm-hmm. It's a great cover. Yeah. They didn't do that in it. So, 0 stars. This is the end of the episode. Bye.
With Viv and I were talking about that cover yesterday.
Yeah.
And with the commentary for the miniseries, King talks about how Mother Abigail and Randall Flagg are sort of white magicians and black magicians and just all the sort of the mythology of it. And it really made me appreciate the original cover a lot more. I think it's so good.
Why does he want to villainize white people so bad?
Well, when he
white people are the devil, black people are angels.
When he started going with one of them's the white magician, one of them's the black magician, I was like, oh, Stephen, where are you going with this? But thankfully he was chill about it. Anyway, Viv, did you know anything about The Stand?
Only that it is like the genesis of all the bullshit that is going to come with the Dark Tower. So
oh yeah, fair.
Everything sort of leans back to this. So it's very, very interesting to finally come back and actually see what it's all about.
Yeah,
and I only vaguely knew about the the plague stuff. I didn't know anything after that.
Fair. I actually didn't know about the plague stuff at all. So I didn't know what this book was about. I just knew from past research, I can't remember what episode, but we definitely discussed it on the explosion, that this was the book that King wrote where he introduced so many characters he decided to kill a bunch of them off in an explosion. And I also knew there was a character named Randall Flagg who was big in the King universe that came into The Stand, but I didn't know anything about him. I didn't know he was the villain. I just assumed he was an important character.
I already knew of Randall Flagg as a character from Matthew McConaughey in the movie. I haven't seen the movie, but I remember...
He's Randall Flagg?
He's Randall Flagg.
I wasn't sure about that. I was actually looking at my Dark Tower DVD earlier, and I was thinking okay, so this is the gunslinger, but I know Randall Flagg is in the Dark Tower, so I wonder if he's in this movie. So that's interesting that he is.
I am just going to quickly fact check it. I'm certain it is, but now I'm like...
It would make sense if it was.
Thinking, wait, what if he wasn't? And I'm just like, no, of course he is. But he...
So I'm pretty
what
sure...
if he's not?
Well, I'm pretty sure I remember because I read a bit at the back that it says, the Dark Man. And that's one of the things Randall Flagg is referred to.
Okay, apparently he's Walter, but he's Randall Flagg.
Okay,
I remember seeing,
Yeah. Well, Randall Flagg has a bunch of different names.
Yeah.
So that makes sense if he is. And if he's not, we've already agreed that last Dark Tower will be the last thing we ever cover, so come back in 5 years and tell us that we're wrong.
Yeah.
Ready? You want to learn about the history behind this book?
Yeah.
this is very early in King's career.
I know, I was shocked.
Yeah.
1978?
Yeah, by the time it was published. He started in 1975, but I'm just going to turn my head slightly. When you think of the books he's released, I mean, he obviously came out with bangers straight away. We've covered Carrie, Salem's Lot, and The Shining. You know, he was immediately on a hitter. But this was definitely sort of his biggest release when you compare even just the size of them to his previous books. Obviously, Salem's Lot's quite big, but still 400, 500 pages.
Didn't he describe it as his Lord of the Rings?
Yeah, he did. Well, let's talk about that. So, King wanted to write a fantasy epic for over a decade when he started his writing career. Mainly inspired by Lord of the Rings, but with an American aesthetic and setting. So after he moved to Boulder, Colorado, he saw a 60-minute segment on chemical biological warfare. And they showed quite gruesome footage, he said, of a mouse dying horribly in less than 20 seconds because of the chemical warfare tests they did on it. So that reminded him of the Dugway sheep incident in Utah in 1968, which is actually referenced in the Stand book. So 6,000 sheep were killed due to an error in the United States Army's testing of a nerve agent they were testing to use in war.
We should have a minute's silence for each of the sheep that died.
Yeah.
6,000 minutes.
Yeah. I mean, it hits close to home, especially...
We are Welsh.
Being Welsh.
Yeah.
Saw The Sheep Detectives not long ago. That was really sad.
It was really sad when they died of chemical weapons.
Hey, it's the same writer as Chernobyl.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's true. But anyway, a news reporter at the time explained that if the wind was blowing the other way, that nerve agent would have blown into Salt Lake City.
They deserve it.
That's what they get for being Mormon.
Does Salt Lake City actually have a lake of salt?
I mean, it is on a lake.
They don't even have a city.
False advertising. I've never been, so...
I could be honest. Maybe they don't even have a lake. I assume they do.
I would assume they do, but I've never been.
That's true. Catch us when we go to Salt Lake City.
If you're from Salt Lake City and you know if they have a lake, or if they have salt, or a city, email us.
Yeah.
allhailthekingpodcast@gmail.com.
Send us a picture as proof.
Yeah.
Yeah, so... so King also was partly inspired by, and he says about this in the commentary, the Patty Hearst case. Now, I didn't look too much into this, but it's mainly just to summarize based on what King said, is Patty Hearst was a person who was radicalized by the SLA. Now, the SLA were, let me find them.
The Salt Lake
City.
Authorities.
The Salt Lake Avengers.
A city.
Salt Lake Avengers?
Yeah, so the SLA were the Symbionese Liberation Army, which were a far-left militant group. And when King started the story in 1975, which bastard was only 29 years old at the time.
Well, you still got 2 years. You still got 2 years. You could write your own stand.
I can write my stand like that.
King is cooked. Kane Parsons was 20 when he directed Batman.
Yeah, but Kane Parsons hasn't made a good film since he was 20.
Somebody says King hasn't written a good book since he's 29.
That's true. Some do. But yeah, so King's initial idea was, what if the world came to an end, but everyone in the Symbionese Liberation Army all survived? So essentially just the only survivors of this plague are going to be the most radicalized people you can imagine. The first thing he wrote was a joke to himself, where he wrote there would be no more gas shortages if the world ended. So to bring back to the Lord of the Rings stuff.
Oh, in context, there was a gas shortage in the 70s, if people didn't know.
I thought you were going to say, for context, there's a gas shortage in Mordor.
That's why they had to walk.
Yeah.
They couldn't drive. They actually have cars in Lord of the Rings, but because of the gas shortage, they couldn't do it.
Hey, there's one shot in the movie where there is actually a car in the background.
Is there?
Yeah, just as Tolkien intended.
You have to point it out to me next time we watch it.
Tolkien was famously a petrolhead.
Yeah, are you fucking with me with that bit?
Yeah, no, he hates he hated trains.
Oh yeah, okay.
I'm just picturing the Top Gear crew, just like, today we're driving into Mordor.
This episode, James May falls into Mount Doom.
That's right.
Can't do that these days.
No.
Can't.
Because he's on a farm.
He is.
King saw Stu as his Hobbit and Randall Flagg as his Dark Lord, with Las Vegas as Mordor, which I think is...
He's cooking. He's onto something, right?
I think it's cool as fuck, the background of this. So, over 2 years, King wrote the first 900-page draft of The Stand. He almost stopped at one point due to writer's block, relating to the amount of characters that he introduced and how stationary they become. Mainly, he felt he was spending too much time talking about the politics of the new society that they were building, and that in-universe, that was coming across as they were still clinging to the old America.
Yeah.
And they weren't moving on. They weren't rebuilding society. They were just trying to continue it, which is why he decided to do the explosion that takes place during the town meeting that kills some of the main characters. Granted, not as many characters as I thought, but then he upped the ante by including a second explosion.
He literally did the meme of when the world crumbles, my ideology will reign supreme, but it's like every quadrant of the political compass.
That's true, I mean, yeah. So he included the explosion to push the plot, but also included it in the text about essentially the explosion was allowed to happen by God because they weren't focused enough on the ultimate quest of stopping Randall Flagg. Like, they were just kind of idling by.
What a dick. Not even get God.
God himself.
He's just like, you're getting too complacent. Some of you need to die so you can carry on my will.
This mute deaf guy, dead.
Dead.
Kill him. So, King was never really satisfied with the end of The Stand. It originally ends with Fran and Stu talking about what comes next, and the final line of the book is just Fran telling Stu, I don't know. And that was kind of King's sentiment of he didn't really know where to take the story as well. Like, he had other ideas for other endings, including like Fran and Stu's journey to go to Maine, and Fran falling in a well and meeting Randall Flagg one last time, and he called this like edition The Last Temptation of Franny Goldsmith, but he said it dragged the story out and he cut it out. But an epilogue was eventually added for the complete and uncut edition, which I'll talk about later. Well, I say later, right now.
By later, I mean now.
I mean now. So the uncut version featured a lot more world building, and some think the story flows better with it and is more focused, but some people do think it drags the book out. There were 300 pages cut from the uncut version, so essentially King wrote the full story, and the publisher Doubleday thought that the size would impact sales, so they cut out 300 pages of the book. So the complete uncut version isn't like a here's stuff that we've added back in, or like retroactively. This is the original intention of the novel.
I can kind of understand with, say, movies, you're cutting out full scenes.
Yeah.
And that doesn't have the flow. I find it so strange, ideas of cutting. I'm sure it was more like cutting chapters than, say, maybe it was like trimming sentences themselves. Do you
It
understand?
was more big segments. So like there were whole characters that were cut, which were just big segments. Like this character called the Kid.
Yeah.
Who is quite well known in The Stand. He's a very minor character, but one of those sort of big, impactful ones. And yeah, it was more general additional chapters. Like, not all chapters in The Stand are long. There are some very minor chapters where it's just world building, and they're honestly some of my favorite parts of just kind of jumping between different places in America and seeing the plague spread. And then in the end, half of the book, there is a lot of politics talk that I imagine got trimmed down quite a bit as well. So I think it was more bigger sections.
George Lucas.
Yeah.
And that's the one you read?
Yes, so I read the complete and uncut edition.
So yours is uncut?
Yeah.
That's what you're saying?
Mine is uncut, yeah.
Oh, cool.
Complete and uncut.
Yeah, complete and uncut.
Are you
That's
happy
a penis joke, by the way.
Are you happy reading that version? Would you think you would have preferred the other version?
I actually do think I'm glad I read this version. My logic was, if I'm going to read it because it's so big, I will read basically the full version.
In for a penny.
Yeah, exactly. And I'm glad I did, because
if you didn't, you'd feel like I need to go back and read the full thing.
Exactly. I would have had to read it twice for an episode.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'll talk more about my thoughts in just a second. So they also changed the dates in the complete and uncut version because The Stand does technically take place in the future. The original book was published October 3rd, 1978, and the complete uncut edition was published in May 1991. So in the original, I think The Stand takes place in the 80s, and then in the complete uncut edition, it takes place more in the 90s. It was published by Doubleday. It was King's last book with Doubleday, and also his last with his editor, Bill Thompson, who was his editor for his first couple books.
Is he the key ingredient?
Some people might say, to be fair.
Did he pass away, or was he just like contracted with Doubleday?
I tried to find this out, actually, and I think that a general understanding is the editors usually work for the publishing company. The complete and uncut edition is King's longest novel, barely beating it by less than 100 pages. So in terms of the top 3 of longest King books, it's Stand complete and uncut, it's number 2, and then the regular version of The Stand is number 3.
I do find it funny that the 2 longest books, by not that much of a margin, is Evil Clown Book and Epic Western.
Genuinely, yeah, it's kind of wild to think it is as long as it is once you've read The Stand.
Yeah.
Yeah. The book was a number 1 bestseller, selling 4.5 million copies. It was included on many best books lists. You got BBC's, Amazon's, Rolling Stone's, Times, The Modern Library. It's critically acclaimed, nominated for the World Fantasy Award for Best Novel in 1979. It lost, though, to Gloriana or The Unfulfilled Queen by Michael Moorcock. Never heard of it as well.
I read.
Yeah.
No, you don't.
I read.
The ratings for this book has got a Goodreads rating of 4.35, a Storygraph rating of 4.23, with an average of 4.29, which is our second highest rated book, only behind Shawshank, which isn't even a full novel, so it's our highest rated novel by King. At the minute, I gave this a 4.5. I loved this book.
Yeah.
This is, I think, at the minute, tied, if not might one day overtake Salem's Lot as my favourite King book.
Really?
Wow.
Yeah. I did something different with this. I went into
Are you a stander now?
I'm a stander. I stand up for the Stand.
Yeah. Well, it's always been going around, and so it's like the Stephen King book for Stephen King fans, isn't it?
Yeah, people say that for an outsider, it's always stuff like The Shining is King's best book and stuff like that. Whereas King has said within people who have read all his books, it's usually The Stand is the one that gets mentioned the most. And I think it's because it's just the most unique thing that he's written. It's very different to his other stuff, having now read more of his things as well. And just to go over my process of reading this, I have an original copy of the UK publishing of the complete and uncut edition that was my father's, which is why I decided to read it physically rather than just on my Kindle. Even though I have all the King books we've covered, I tend to like reading on my Kindle because I can highlight and sort of flick back easier. And I also made notes as I read the book on every single chapter, which I haven't done before. Usually I just pick out certain bits that I want to talk about. But because this was so dense and I knew it would have loads of characters, I wanted to track as I went along. And part of me does think maybe that kind of shot me in the foot, where there were times where I was thinking, there's like 20 new names on these 2 pages, and I don't know who's going to be important and who's not. But also it was really helpful because there were times where I was thinking, oh, have I met this person before? Flick back a little bit.
Check your own glossary.
Yeah, genuinely oh, this is the person that they met in this scene. Like Julie, for example, the woman who Nick and Tom meet, who shoots at them and comes back later. When she came back later, originally, I didn't remember who she was, but I was able to flick back and think, that's what happened.
Do you think engaging with it in this way also contributed to your enjoyment?
I definitely think so, because it made me a lot more conscious of reading. There's a big discussion in reading groups and circles of like speed reading and what counts as in-depth reading. And I don't really engage much in that. I just think, if you read a book, if you enjoy it, that's the most important thing. But I definitely think I've recognized in my own reading, there are times where I never skip past. Some people do things of like, I only read the dialogue, which is crazy to me.
I don't think that's true. That's engagement-based bullshit.
Yeah, but just to say that. But
this is prose slop.
Lit slop. But I think that genuinely following through and sort of reviewing each chapter and thinking of like what were the significant bits, what are the characters now that we're focusing on, especially because the book starting, initially you're meeting the 5 characters in the garage during the crash and then the plague spreading. Once they started dying, it was very much a case of like, oh, I thought they were going to be like our main guys. And it was very satisfying to piece together and realizing who was going to be the most important characters, even though it was confusing. And I did find myself really caring then about the characters themselves. I do think maybe, this is maybe a controversial opinion, I don't know, between like, just because of the book, how it was published, I think maybe modern, if this book was modernized, it could pull a lot from other popular big scale books. I'm thinking like Game of Thrones, where you are following lots of characters, but each chapter kind of starts with like a character name, and you sort of know who you're following. So maybe rather than having to think of like, where are we, having maybe kind of like at the start of the chapter, like Fran, location, and date, and it would make it flow a bit better. But then also, you could argue that's kind of the point of it's
asking more of you.
Yeah.
So when you're able to give yourself more over to this book, you get more out of it.
Yeah, exactly.
I was going to ask if the book is structured that way, because the film, obviously, most scenes are location, date.
Yeah, so the book is just told in traditional chapters.
Okay.
It doesn't, like you pick up who you're following. It's mainly just in the first half of the book, honestly, which is quite a lot. But throughout a lot of this, you are meeting a lot of people. And there are times where you're kind of like, which group are we with now? You'll jump back to Larry, and all of a sudden there's like 5 more people with him that you have to get to know. But once you kind of get into the groove of, okay, our main characters are Stu, Fran, Larry, Mother Abigail, Randall Flagg, Lloyd, and so on, you can kind of then piece together of, okay, they're the ones we're focusing on, and now it's just about sort of world building. And I do think that it could easily...
Sorry, I just saw that picture of King on the back of the...
Oh yeah, the whole back of the whole back of the cover is just King's face.
We should bring back that as a trend.
I agree.
Just have the entire back as a portrait.
I do think that it asks a lot of you to engage with him, and it can be kind of overwhelming. I think the fact that King gives full names to like essentially every single person he's introducing doesn't necessarily help, but it then does leave you sort of on the edge of thinking, well, I don't know then who's safe, it kind of makes
it would
feel
be
more
kind
invested.
of obvious and obnoxious if the only people who are given full names are the main characters.
Yeah.
But I can understand that it needs to be a balancing act of...
Yeah, exactly.
Not everyone needs a full character introduction, and backstory.
To be fair, he doesn't do like, hey, this is this person's full deal.
Yeah.
Unless it's a major character, or at least someone interesting. But then also there are times where you'll just say full names and you're just kind of like, do I know this person? What's happening? Do I need to remember this person? There's one scene where
I feel like that works sometimes. Just like, do you know this person? I fucking know.
Yeah, and there's one segment in the book which isn't in a miniseries, where there's a shootout. I can't even remember whose group it was. Maybe Franny's, but there was a shootout. And it was, they like rescue a bunch of women that were basically being held captive by this group of men. And it introduces like 13 people. And then all the men were like immediately killed. And some of the women were also killed. And I'm just like, I don't fucking know who's who. I think that's when Dana, it's when Dana, who is one of the spies that gets sent, the one who kills herself to escape Flag.
Yeah.
That's when she's introduced. And it's just kind of funny looking back of just like, I didn't have a fucking clue what was going on.
Maybe I can imagine it'd be very rewarding going back to it.
I think that's why it was satisfying then, as it was coming to an end. And honestly, it's not often I read a big novel like that. And I don't think I've ever read a big novel like that and thought, oh, I'll reread this one day.
Yeah.
Like, this is something I will engage with. Kind of like how with Salem's Lot, where Salem's Lot, I... at the time, really enjoyed it, but then as time went on, I grew to appreciate it more, and now I've got a nice edition of it. Whereas, like, I can definitely think of if the Stand gets a 40th anniversary edition, I'll definitely pick it back up and one day reread it. So I really enjoyed it. I think I just want to shout out some of my favorite bits before we move on. So And my favorite parts of this was the world building. So, like, for example, chapter 8, you get a really short chapter that just shows the spread of the infection, where it essentially does kind of, like I said, with the character thing, where it says, Joe Smith was out on a walk and he spoke to Betty Rose. And then Betty Rose went to speak to like her mother, and her mother went to a bridge club. And you're just kind of realizing then over like 3 pages of, oh, all of these people are now infected. And they even had lines where Larry is on a date with a woman earlier in the book and they go to the cinema, and the final line of the chapter is just, in the row behind Harry, that's hard to say. In a row behind Larry, a man was coughing. It's just kind of like that underlying threat, kind of like with Salem's Lot, where you know that people are slowly being turned into vampires. But then also this progresses so quickly. When I realized it was about the plague, I was thinking, this is going to be a slow burn. No, it's like once the plague starts, it tears through it really quickly. I was also kind of surprised about how late some of the big players are introduced. So there's 77, I think. Yeah, 78 chapters. And Randall Flagg isn't introduced until chapter 23. So him being like the only name I knew was kind of surprising, of just like, oh, I wonder when he's going to come in. And again, it's just the world building. I'm really glad this got included in the miniseries, the Kathy Bates cameo.
Yeah.
Of like that, the radio station. There's a lot more of that. There's like a student revolution, a lot of discussions on healthcare, a lot of stuff that I think is especially poignant I think we'll talk about this more with the next series, seeing as that came out more recently. Poignant looking back with COVID as context as well, of having now lived through a plague, essentially. Granted, obviously not one as effective. Like, you know,
we could give it another go.
I remember when Viv went to Las Vegas because she was having those dreams.
You would join Randall Flagg's side.
No, I would let off the nuke.
Yes. It's very interesting looking back and sort of seeing King's politics seep through, of his distrust of authority, and thinking, if this happened now, you know, the military would kind of deny it and the government would try and hide it. And it would just kill people off in the background until it's too late, essentially, to do anything about it. I do have criticisms of the book. I've already mentioned sort of, it can be kind of confusing to read at times, and it does unfortunately go into some of King's tropes.
Yes, it does.
What do you mean?
Mainly with Tom and with Abigail.
Yeah.
Of the, I'm forgetting the actual term now, but essentially a special needs person with magical abilities and a black person with, again, magical abilities. Abigail, more so, like, she directly is linked to God.
Yeah.
100%. Tom, it's less evident. Obviously, you get that brief
He's less
moment.
magical and more just... He's not magical, but he does sort of fit that archetype.
He's not quite an idiot savant, but...
Yeah, exactly. He's not an idiot savant. He's not like Job or anything like that. He doesn't have... Or Duddits. He doesn't have anything explicit. It's more just... King describes Tom and Trash Can Man as sort of the main players of the two sides. And it's interesting how they kind of reflected within each other than that they both kind of got their own things going on mentally. But Trash Can Man is a lot more erratic and sort of leans towards violence, whereas Tom leans towards more the stereotypical like big friendly giant sort of guy. Yeah, but I still like those characters, but it's worth mentioning. They are.
I know, I was kind of worried.
Tropes, yeah.
I am only speaking on behalf of the miniseries, but when I character, I was just thinking, they're going to do the similar sort of tropes. I was kind of pleasantly surprised where they took him. I thought it was actually quite sweet.
Yeah, I actually
There's some really nice stuff there.
I really like Tom and Abigail as characters, and I don't think it's an egregious example of the trope. I just think it's worth noting that the trope is done.
Yeah.
Especially in regards to the fact that, like you said, this is a story essentially where you've got the one faction is led by an old black woman and the other faction is led by Randall Flagg, who portrays himself as a white man, like kind of a typical American.
Yeah, I think it's got the denim.
Yeah, exactly. It's
kind of mullet.
It's in the text essentially.
It does make me very intrigued for the 2020 one.
Yeah.
Because, not to get ahead of myself, but I've seen a lot of people say that one is much weaker than this miniseries. I don't know how much of that is culture war.
Yeah,
nonsense.
that'd be interesting, actually, because I'm really intrigued to watch that one. As I was with this one, having finished the book and thinking, like, oh, okay, I actually think this is one of the rare cases where this could not work as a movie. This has to be a series.
Funny you should mention that.
Yeah.
I actually have some information on the production. If you'd like me to go through that.
Right, just before you do, I've got two final little bits I want to talk about very briefly, because I know, again, this book talk's always a lot of me talking.
It's a big book. It's fine.
Exactly. So, I didn't mention this earlier, but The Stand kind of has ideas that pull from an early King short story called Night Surf, which is published in Night Shift, the 1978 collection, which is the collection that predates The Stand. It's the book that was released before. But the only real connection is the mention of Captain Trips, the disease.
Okay.
So I just wanted to mention that. We're not going to really talk about Night Surf now, but we talked in private about how Peter Sullivan made a short film with the $1 baby scheme. So in the future, one day, we'll talk about that.
Very cool.
And Garen mentioned it earlier. I did not realize that last year a short story collection was published called The End of the World as We Know It. But it's a collection of short stories introduced by King but not written by him. It's a bunch of different authors. I actually have started reading it. I don't know if I'll finish it by the time we record the next episode. But it's essentially just more world building because, this book has a lot of fans and there's a lot to dig into just in the world. So I'm glad that King allowed that to happen. But I'll talk more about the production of that next week. And I just wanted to talk about before, because I think it'll be relevant when we go into the miniseries, the themes of the book. Because this is definitely King's most thematically dense book.
Theme slop.
It's absolutely theme slop. My main focus and interpretation was on weapons and warfare. Obviously, the genocide plague starts because of military testing. But even then, you've got Randall Flagg and Abigail weaponizing people in different ways. The idea of, wars being fought over religion. And the ending of the book, actually, the epilogue that was added for the complete and uncut edition is Randall Flagg re-emerging and speaking to a group of tribesmen who hold spears. And it just sort of shows that cyclical nature of humanity sort of kind of destroying ourselves.
On that interpretation that you have, do you view, like you said, it's Abigail and Randall using people? Are you seeing them more just like sort of an equal, because they're both using violence at the end of the day, but obviously it's framed more as like a good versus evil.
It is, and that is the whole point of Randall Flagg and Abigail. Is Abigail is the embodiment of good, and Randall Flagg is the embodiment of evil. But I do think with the equal side is it does show the nuances in between of, yes, Abigail's group goes to Las Vegas, but it's not just them that take down Flagg. It's Lloyd, who's Flagg's right-hand man, questioning him, and Trashcan Man. It's a bit muddied in the miniseries. We could talk about your opinions on it later.
Yeah.
But in the book especially, you get a long build-up of Trashcan Man traveling with the nuke and how it's degrading his body, and essentially the defeat of Randall Flagg isn't just because other people come in and kill him. It's because he can't sustain his own group.
Yeah.
Whereas when you radicalize a bunch of people, we see this nowadays with sort of MAGA and a lot of the alt-right groups. When you radicalize a bunch of people, sometimes they go further than you.
Yeah.
And you're not
it's just sort of
their side as much. Yeah.
Sort of
it's self-destructive.
That perpetuating of violence is self-destructive at the end.
Yeah, exactly. So that's my main idea, and especially because the book, the opening of the book is titled "The Circle Opens," and then the additional epilogue that was added is called "The Circle Closes." So I think that was just King's intention, but obviously there's a lot to discuss with it, with religion, with healthcare. AIDS is mentioned quite a few times. Obviously, we've already said about COVID, but I'm sure that'll be relevant.
Was that part of the 90s edition?
Yeah, must have been. Yeah, definitely think so. But yeah, and so if there's anything I've sort of missed, because there's so much to go into, I might mention it next episode, because I am going to read more of the short stories, and also there is a Marvel Comics adaptation of The Stand that I've started reading, which is very cool. But I think that is pretty much it for my book end of stuff, I think. I forgot to mention this earlier. Final note is the complete and uncut edition features artwork. I'll show you it now, but I just want to get the guy's name. By Bernie Wrightson, who worked on Creepshow.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So, lucky page. So just throughout the book, there's
cool.
just really striking artwork. A lot of it of the people, with Captain Trips. That's Trash Can Man when the nuke goes off.
Awesome.
Yeah, really, really striking. It made reading this division very satisfying, especially because
you struggle without pictures.
Exactly, but especially because I don't think those are included. I don't know about the newest publication, but in the paperback versions of this, the complete and cut edition that were published after this version, they definitely weren't included.
That's really cool.
But the newest edition, the solid back King Classic ones, they might have them, I'm not sure.
Yeah.
Anyway, that's my bit done.
Lovely stuff. Well, just some information about the film. Yes, the film, before we talk about the miniseries. Like many of the miniseries, this started off as a film, and then they realised it's too big.
Yep.
So, in the late 1970s, George A. Romero, who we've spoken about before, have I ever told you the story of how I met him?
You met George A. Romero?
Yeah. We've spoken about it before, it's fine. He was speaking with George A. Romero about Salem's Lot, because he had Romero had Martin out, which is vampires, and Salem's Lot is about vampires. The two got talking, and Romero was very enthusiastic about The Stand and wanted to do a film version. One of the main reasons, because he would get to do a lot of travelling, which I think is really funny. But also, he apparently was really into the societal themes of it, but it just sounds like an excuse to go travelling.
Yeah.
But they determined that because of the scale of the book, they would need a very large budget, and working with a studio would grant them that budget, but would rip away artistic control and lead to studio interference. So they worked with Laurel Entertainment, who we have spoken about before. They produced Creepshow with Richard P. Rubenstein. Rubenstein was actually obsessed with The Stand, allegedly, and really wanted to work on it as his dream project. But because they didn't have the finances in place, they thought, okay, first of all, let's do something a little lower budget to generate enough money for us to work on The Stand. So they made Creepshow. Creepshow was a success. We've spoken about Creepshow very recently. You can listen to our episode on it for further information. But following that, work was getting done to turn The Stand into a movie. King wrote a draft in 1981, which came in about 400 pages long, which is equivalent to about 6 hours.
Ah, there you go.
It was actually announced in a summer 1980 issue of Cinefantastique that the two movies would be written by King, produced by Rubenstein, and directed by Romero. Warner Bros. Actually were kind of interested and put The Stand into active development with a budget somewhere between $15 and $25 million. By September of 1982, King had completed a second draft, now with it planned as 2 films. By December 1983, the plan reverted to 1 film at 3 hours in runtime, and King completed his final draft of the film screenplay in 1986, at which point Romero dropped out of the project, citing conflicts with Laurel Entertainment and King movies going on a downward trend in terms of box office revenue, and fearing that would impact his ability to get more movies made in the future. Dario Argento was approached to replace Romero.
Is he going to do a Giallo version?
But Argento declined, saying he does not want to work on adaptations.
Fair enough.
But that would be a very interesting world we'd be living in.
Be very colourful.
Yeah.
Have a very plinkety-plonk goblin score.
You've seen Suspiria?
Oh, yes. Okay,
Yeah.
there we go.
That's probably
It would have been made for like £5 in Italy.
Yeah.
So
Could you imagine?
Honestly, I think that kind of works stylistically.
yeah.
Yeah. And then in 1989, after the financial success of Pet Sematary, production kind of got a second wind, with John Borman being hired to direct. John Borman did Zardoz, Exorcist 2, Deliverance, I believe. And he brought in his regular screenwriter, Rospo Pallenberg, to redraft King's script, which was now at 700 pages long. And they needed it to be 130 pages.
Oh, God.
So...
We'll fix it in editing.
Yeah.
700 pages is almost the length of the original novel.
Yeah. Like, obviously, it's like it's a different format. But yeah,
still.
it's still, like... Considering 400 pages is about 6 hours long.
Yeah.
Maybe they should have done that thing that James Cameron tried to do with Terminator 2, where they cut out one
frame.
like a frame. To, like,
I'd
cut
love
down.
to see that version.
I think it's just janky.
Yeah.
I don't think it has the effect you think it does.
It's a cool experiment, though, isn't it?
In concept.
Yeah. Nothing materialized from the John Borman version, and in June of 1992, King realized there was too much material for a movie and thought that a miniseries was the way to go. He then redrafted the script from scratch, not looking back at his or Pallenberg's previous drafts. He submitted this script to ABC, who greenlit the series. ABC and Laurel wanted Brian De Palma to direct. Obviously, done Carrie. King wanted Mick Garris, who had just directed Sleepwalkers, which we have not talked about. We will talk about eventually, because we're going to cover everything. But seeing Sleepwalkers and being like, I want this guy to do The Stand, is kind of an insane take. I don't know if you remember Sleepwalkers.
I remember like 5 minutes from Sleepwalkers.
It's a crazy movie. It does not give you the sense that this person is going to tackle such a behemoth of the book.
Yeah.
But, hey, King got his wish, and Garris was chosen, and they just went into casting then. Now, they started off with Mother Abigail, and they wanted Whoopi Goldberg, who had just won an Oscar a few years prior for Ghost.
That's crazy.
Sadly, she was busy filming Sister Act 2 Back in the Habit, so she was not able to be Mother Abigail.
For now.
That's a big shame. I'd love to live in the world where Whoopi Goldberg plays her in 2 different adaptations.
Yeah.
But anyway.
Yeah. So instead, they cast Ruby Dee. We'll talk more about Mother Abigail later, but Ruby Dee is an actress. She is in Do the Right Thing and American Gangster. She's very good in American Gangster.
I have not seen American Gangster.
It's a Ridley Scott movie.
One of the good ones?
Yeah, it's actually one of the good ones. I saw it way too young an age, but it is a good one. Also, they had cast an actor called Moses Gunn as Judge Ferris.
Yeah.
That's a great name.
It's a great name.
I've read about this bit, but yeah.
But he had to drop out due to an illness, which ultimately he would die from. So instead, they cast Ozzie Davis, who is from Bubba Hotep and Do the Right Thing, as Judge Ferris. Coincidentally enough, he's also Ruby Dee's husband, or was at the time.
Really?
Yeah.
That's interesting.
I saw that on IMDb trivia.
I don't do trivia for I don't research the
I
films.
don't research.
I don't research the films. I have to read the books. Anyway, go on.
But as we said, it is directed by Mick Garris. That's my little doodle using the logo that's on my Blu-ray.
Very cool. What's supposed to be in the A?
It's the Biohazard.
Biohazard.
I think that's a better logo than the VHS one.
Yeah, and then this series itself uses a different one entirely.
Yeah.
There's a lot of logos they use for this.
Yeah. The VHS one is kind of giving the same energy as the original cover, but mainly in colour rather than in style.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So Mick Garris is a very prolific King director. We've spoken about him before on our Bag of Bones episode, on our 90s Shining miniseries episode, and briefly in our Michael Jackson's Ghosts episode.
Yeah.
But he had already directed Sleepwalkers at this point, so this was his second adaptation. First miniseries, which is where I think most of his adaptations were miniseries.
Yeah, looking at his stuff, because, we will talk about not only Sleepwalkers in the future, but...
Yeah, Sleepwalkers is theatrical. I think Desperation might have been theatrical.
I think so. It's 131 minutes.
Yeah.
So...
And then most of them are just
miniseries.
The teleplay, as mentioned, was written by Stephen King. It was produced by Mitchell Garlin, who we've spoken about before, worked for Laurel Entertainment and produced Thinner, The Night Flyer, and Golden Years. Executive producers, Stephen King, Richard P. Rubenstein, and associate producer is Michael Gornick, who we've also mentioned before, is a director of photography on Creepshow, director of Creepshow 2, and director of some episodes of Golden Years. The director of photography is Edward J. P., who worked on Howling 6: The Freaks, which is just a great name for a movie, and also a movie called Primeval. I just wanted to bring this up because I remember seeing this movie back in the day, and I was really excited. I was like, oh my god, they made a Primeval movie.
And it's not.
Yeah.
It has nothing to do with the TV show. I was bitterly disappointed.
A big
They had no future. They had no future predators.
I hadn't watched it, but I saw it at my aunt's house, and I was like, oh, can I borrow this? Just like, why do you want to watch it? It's Primeval. And then I was looking at the DVD, and I was just like, there's no anomalies, there's no future predators, there's no dinosaurs here.
I don't blame you. Even looking at the poster, it's kind of giving Primeval.
Yeah.
Like, there's in the...
This is how I react to season 4 of Primeval.
Yeah.
When they brought in the new guy.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
I do know what you mean.
Disgusting.
Yeah.
Season 4?
Was this season 4?
In season 3, partway through, they killed the guy off, and then
that's when they bring the new guy.
Right. I like him, but he's
nothing.
I like Jason Fleming.
Okay.
He's a good actor. But then season 4, when it was like on Gold or something, that's when I dropped off then. Music is by and this is an even better name, W.G. Snuffy Walden.
Yeah. That's great.
Can I just say, okay, there are some... It's a 90s score. It's very egregious. There's some songs in here I think are fantastic.
I agree.
I like the score.
I like the score as well.
I was listening to it just like on YouTube, like trying to find certain scores. It's whenever they bring in the sexy guitar where I'm just like, all right, turn it back a bit. But when it's like playing to like the country themes, I thought it was amazing.
There's a bit where it's just Mother Abigail sat on the porch, and it's like this beautiful acoustic guitar.
Yeah,
it's like emotional.
No, it's beautiful. So shout out to the score.
I tend to listen to
what was the name again?
W.G. Snuffy Walden.
W.D. Snuffy Walden.
Yeah. Actually, we will
cuddliest name there is.
We will talk about W.G. Snuffy Walden again at some point. He actually did the music for Under the Dome.
Did he?
Yeah. Also,
you gotta mention Under the Dome as much as possible so we can get this in the algorithm.
Under the Dome was like a second best performing YouTube episode.
It still is. It's crazy. I mean, I see Under the Dome and like, TikTok shorts that are like this town got trapped inside like that.
Content stuff.
Literally content stuff. I see Under the Dome in that all the time.
Yeah.
So
it's got a good premise.
It has got a good premise. I'm excited to get to Under the Dome in months,
I get to watch the Simpsons movie again.
Yeah, genuinely. But
anyway. He's also done a lot of TV, so Friday Night Lights and The West Wing. This was edited by Patrick McMahon, who we have spoken about before. He's Mick Garris's regular editor, also co-editor on the first Nightmare on Elm Street.
Awesome.
And then we're going to go through the cast. So there's a lot of people. I'm not going to mention everyone who's in this.
No.
If I miss out your favourite character, I'm sorry. There are 125 credited cast members.
And how many uncredited?
At least one.
Few.
Yeah.
A few.
Okay, Ed Harris wasn't credited.
I know. I will get on to that in just a moment. So we've got Gary Sinise as Stu Redmond.
Yeah.
He's Lieutenant Dan from Forrest Gump. He's also in Of Mice and Men.
Yes, he is.
He's in The Green Mile as well.
Is he?
Yeah.
Oh.
I don't remember who he plays, but I literally have Letterboxd open.
Okay.
But yeah, he does.
His letterbox is deceiving because you'll see his second highest ranking is Captain America: The Winter Soldier. He's just a fucking voiceover in the museum at the beginning of the movie. Molly Ringwald from 16 Candles and The Breakfast Club as Franny Goldsmith. We haven't spoken about her as an actress, but she is mentioned in It.
Yeah, she is.
Yeah.
In the 2017 one.
2017.
I like Molly Ringwald and what I've seen her in.
Yeah.
So The Breakfast Club.
Yeah.
Have you seen 16 Candles?
I've seen King Cobra.
You've seen King Cobra?
Yeah.
Fair enough.
I don't remember her being in it, but there was other stuff distracting me in that movie, to be fair.
Laura San Giacomo from Pretty Woman and Sex, Lies and Videotape as Nadine Cross. Adam Stork from Death Becomes Her and Mystic Pizza as Larry Underwood. You watch Mystic Pizza. Is it as good as the name suggests?
It's just the name of their pizza place that they work for.
No.
What was Nadine's actress's name?
Laura San Giacomo.
She looks weirdly like Rachel Zegler.
Wait.
Okay, you could disagree, that's fine.
I don't see it, but I was thinking the entire time she reminds me of someone. It's not Rachel Zegler, but I still don't know who she reminds me of.
Well, if we're all comparing people to...
In the opening, when she's introduced to Larry and she's like sat on that bench, she looks at him a certain way, and I'm just like, that. She looks just like Rachel Zegler. Just like facially.
There are Rachel Zeglers everywhere with those.
I'll bring it up when you bring up their name. Go ahead.
Okay. We've got Miguel Ferrer from RoboCop and Twin Peaks.
I thought he was so good in this. I'm not biased, but because he's in Twin Peaks.
I think
he's
biased.
Really good. He's a great actor. He brings so much empathy to this.
He's great. No,
he does, yeah.
I really like him. Lloyd Henreid. We have actually spoken about him before. He does have a cameo in the Shining miniseries. Is he Jack? I think he's Jack's father.
Yeah, that sounds about right. And looking at him, he looks like him. Yeah.
Yeah. Lloyd actually is King's favourite character from The Stand.
That makes sense. He speaks a lot in the behind the scenes of in the commentary, but I'm talking about the book as well, of his whole thing of introducing characters and not really sure where they're going. And the main ones he talks about are Tom, Trash Can Man, and Lloyd, and just the depth that he wanted to give to them as it went on, and how essentially those three, when he introduced them, he didn't realize that they would basically be the solution to the book.
Yeah. It could have just been simple of just like, oh, he's white trash and given any sort of power, but then he adds like actual complexities to him. I think it's really well done.
Speaking of Trash Can Man, that's Matt Frewer, who played Job in Lawnmower Man 2.
No way.
And obviously Max Headroom. He's also in Bag of Bones.
I did not realize that was him.
Yeah. So he's Trash Can Man. We got Corin Nemec as Harold Lauder. He's from Stargate SG-1 and Tucker, the Man in His Dream.
He got infested with the Christine curse.
Yeah, fake pimples. Yeah. And apparently a padded ass that I didn't notice. Really? Yeah. They took the padding out of his ass as it went along to show he was getting more athletic. Harold in the book is like an obese character. So I appreciate them not just defaulting to that. Mm. But it is kind of funny, just the whole Arnie Cunningham style of nerdification. That's how do you do an ugly character?
It's kind of insane considering I think a lot of the makeup effects in this are really good. And the way he's just got like dots.
Yeah.
It's like hit with a bingo dabber.
I just don't think you need pimples. I think his attitude is enough. I think the actor plays him really well. I think the attitude is enough to just show him gain more confidence as it goes along.
Yeah.
I don't think he needs to literally be ugly, quote unquote.
We've also got Ray Walston from The Sting and the Popeye movie as Glenn Bateman. Rob Lowe from Parks and Recreation and Salem's Lot 2004 as Nick Andros. Bill Fagerbakker from Jennifer's Body and is Patrick from SpongeBob, which I made you aware of the other day.
I didn't realise that.
As Tom Cullen.
The second you said, I heard all of Tom's dialogue and was like, yeah, of course he is.
It's fucking Patrick Star.
Yeah, he just sounds like him.
M-O-O-N. That spells bikini bottom.
You gotta set the M for M-O-O-N.
That hurt.
I will say, the one... I really like a lot about this, but there was only one joke, quote unquote, that got me. and it's just MOON. That spells eggs. That's really funny.
We've got Shawnee Smith from Saw and The Blob as Julie Laurie, and Jamie Sheridan from Spotlight and Sully as Randall Flagg. Then we have some supporting roles / cameos by the following actors: Stephen King as Teddy Weezak, Mick Garris as Henry Dunbarton, Cynthia Garris as Susan Stern, Tom Holland, who is not Spider-Man, Tom Holland, who directed Thinner and The Langoliers, as Carl Hoch, Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, yes, the basketball player, as Monster Shouter, John Landis, yes, the murderer, as Russ Dorr, Sam Raimi as Bobby Terry.
I got so excited when Sam Raimi showed up. I was like, oh shit!
It's the guy from the Shining miniseries.
Yeah. Ed Harris as General Starkey. Yeah. I didn't know he was in this. That was like
he's so bold.
I was like, oh shit!
I've seen Ed Harris hasn't been this bold, and he's always been bold, but he's so bold in this.
Well, there's a story behind that. If essentially, it's a very short story of just this was. Like, they hired him, and then he went bold, and he just showed up to set, and they were just like, what is your hair?
It's like so smooth. Yeah. It's beautiful.
Yeah. You know that Ed Harris is married to Amy Madigan?
Yeah. Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah,
that's nice.
We've got Kathy Bates as Ray Flowers.
So Viv and I have seen each other once or twice this week, so we've talked very briefly, and the one conversation we had about The Stand was just Viv going, so was that Kathy Bates? It's like, yeah, it was. Yeah. She wasn't credited, was she?
No, she was not credited. Neither was Ed Harris. And neither is the next person. This is one I genuinely don't think either of you would know about.
Go on.
Jeff Goldblum.
I did see that.
I didn't see. I heard his name. I didn't know he was actually in it.
Jeff Goldblum as the radio.
I shouldn't have looked at IMDb trivia. I'm sorry.
That's fine.
Okay. No.
But I was just like, oh, cool, Jeff Goldblum.
That's very cool.
I did not pick up on his.
Cadences. Well, in the commentary, they talked about there was a brief discussion of Jeff Goldblum and Willem Dafoe as possibilities for Randall Flagg.
Jeff Goldblum would have been insane.
It would have been, but they decided they wanted someone a bit less known.
I think I would have gone feral if Willem Dafoe was.
Willem Dafoe as Randall Flagg is genuinely like casting so good. I never want to see it.
Yeah, honestly.
I know Stephen King said he wanted Robert Duvall.
Yeah,
I think that would have been great.
That would have been good as well.
Not that I dislike the guy who plays.
No, I think he does a really good job.
I think he does a good job.
I think that
when you've got like on the table Jeff Goldblum, Willem Dafoe, Robert Duvall, it's like
I think the choice of just they want it to be kind of it could be any man, like they don't want someone who people were that familiar with, is a really good choice. Because looking at this and not knowing the actor myself, he does just look like the typical American guy. Like Stephen King wanted Randall Flagg to look like
he's the kind of working class man.
Yeah, the kind of man who would appear on those old romance novels, the ones with the painted covers.
Honestly, he was giving me Barlow from Salem's Lot 2004.
Yeah, fair. I can kind of see that.
Give me that one guy. Fabio.
Fabio, yeah. Well, that's inspiration for the whole painted covers thing.
Yeah.
There's one more cameo that I'm curious if you're going to mention, so keep going.
That's all of my notes, but there is a lot of people in this.
Fran's doctor is the one when she's pregnant having checkups. It's Mark Frost's dad, the co-writer for Twin Peaks.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I just thought that was cool. They mentioned it in the commentary.
He's also in Twin Peaks.
Oh, yeah, of course he is.
Warren Frost?
Sounds about right.
Yeah.
They said, they say his name, but then they're just like, well, it's Mark Frost. That's how I remember.
Yeah, he's in Twin Peaks.
Oh, cool.
Okay.
So, two Twin Peaks. Two Twin Peaks.
Mark Frost, the writer of Fantastic Four, 2005.
I want to check.
Sorry, that was it.
Yeah. So, production companies working for this were Laurel Entertainment, Dawnfield Entertainment, and Greengrass Productions for ABC. Right. It was aired in the US on between May 8th and 12th, 1994. So consecutive days, except one in the middle. It didn't air in the UK until October 20th to the 28th, 1996.
So 2 years, damn.
Almost 2.5 years later, and it was shown on BBC Two.
Really?
Which makes sense. It feels like a BBC Two thing.
Yeah. My parents watch a lot of BBC miniseries.
You can watch it right after watching what's that?
Weakest Link.
No. What's that movie you really like? The post-apocalypse one?
Threads?
Yeah. Double bill Threads in the stand.
I feel like they got some similarities, yeah.
Nuke.
Nuke.
This had a budget back in the day of $26 million, which is around $59 million today, so pretty hefty for a 4-part miniseries. Reception-wise, this has an IMDb rating of 7.1 out of 10, Metacritic 61 out of 100, Letterboxd 3.3 out of 5, Rotten Tomato critics give it an approval rating of 64%, audiences 70%. Also, this was nominated for 6 Primetime Emmys, including Outstanding Miniseries, Outstanding Music, Outstanding Cinematography, Outstanding Art Direction, Outstanding Sound Mixing, and Outstanding Makeup. It won the last 2, Sound Mixing and Makeup. It was also nominated for one SAG Award, which is now called the Actor Award, for Outstanding Male Actor in a TV, Movie, or Miniseries for Gary Sinise. He did not win. Yeah, that's not everyone who worked on it. I could be here for hours talking about who worked on this, but I don't want to be.
Viv, what did you think? I'm most curious about your opinion.
This is definitely because I've not liked any of Mick Garris's work that we've covered so far. In fact, I'd say they're probably the worst ones we've covered. Maybe.
Well, so Bag of Bones and The Shining from 1997.
The worst ones?
Maybe. Give me another one that we've covered.
Carrie 2002.
Nah.
Mr. Harrigan's Phone.
That's shorter.
That's fair. Okay.
Dreamcatcher.
Dreamcatcher's funny.
Lawnmower Man 2.
Lawnmower has elements I like.
Okay, so Mick Garris overall has done your least favourites. So what did you think
Golden
of this?
Years?
Maybe that's
Cell.
Cell is. I love Cell with all my heart.
We're like big Cell fans.
Salem's Lot.
2024.
Any of them.
I like Salem's Lot.
2024.
I have fond memories of seeing
it. So what did you think then of The Stand?
This is by far his best work.
Okay, good.
By a country mile. This is actually like quite compelling.
Yeah. That we've seen so far.
Who
knows? Desperation may be a banger.
Yeah. I don't remember Sleepwalkers, but I doubt it'll be better.
I remember Sleepwalkers. I think, this is much better.
So I was quite daunted by the runtime, to be quite honest.
Yeah.
And given, not that the beginning was like, I think the opening was really good, but it's definitely did feel like a mini series. I was thinking like, I don't know if this will be able to keep my interest, but it did for the entire runtime. I actually quite enjoyed this.
Nice. That's really good to hear. What about you, Garen?
Again, I was kind of daunted by the runtime. 4 parts, 6 hours long. I haven't watched this twice. I would watch it with commentary if I had the time. The only reason I've been able to watch it is because I've been off work because I've got a bruised lung and had an asthma attack, which is lovely. I really enjoyed this to begin with. I think by the time it got to the final part, my enjoyment did waver. I thought it didn't really stick the landing, but I think parts 1 and 2 are very strong, and it just kind of, even though there's some good stuff in parts 3 and 4, I think that's where it was at its weakest.
I agree with you on that.
I do think, though, the first, 20 minutes or so, I was like, oh shit.
They're cooking.
Mick Garris is he's cooking on another level.
I agree. I think the intro to this is great.
Yeah, with Fear the Reaper and shit.
Yeah.
It's just with all the corpses lying about, and it's just this is so awesome.
And there is a lot I do like, but sometimes it was okay, we are now focusing on the least interesting characters, which is when you have a big cast of characters, you are always going to have ones you enjoy the plot lines of more. And I think by part 4, there were some bits that were just like almost too goofy to take seriously.
Yeah. I think I know which bit you mean.
Even though, on the whole, I liked it, I think I just kind of was burnt out a bit by the end, and it wasn't really like doing much for me at that point. But if it sustained what it was like in the first like part or two, I think this would easily be like up there.
Fair. That's good. It's nice to hear you both really enjoyed it. So I'm the only one who watched it twice. I watched it once all the way through, and then once with commentary.
And you've read the book. So
I read the book. I find that because I read the book, I often end up quite critical. There are many cases where we've covered things, and I've said like, "Oh, I didn't like it as much as you two," and then as time has gone on, I've grown like more. I think even just with Christine in our first episode, I was like that. But honestly, looking at this as an adaptation, I think this is really solid.
Yeah.
I think that Mick Garris did probably as best as he could do with adapting the source material. I have problems with it. Some of them stem from the book. Some of them are unique to the miniseries. But overall, I quite enjoyed this. It's not one I think I'm going to like reach for. I think, again, the length. I think maybe it could have used a bit of trimming. I can understand, like I said earlier, this needs to be long in terms of there's a lot to fit in. But even then, they already trimmed so much. I think that maybe they could have been a bit more creative with some aspects of it to simplify the story.
Honestly, the biggest compliment I could give it is that it made me want to read the book.
Yeah, that's completely fair. And I think, you know, if there was going to be a King book, I'd recommend.
Because like I could see through, although I don't think all the elements work as a TV show, I could see the strengths of the story within it.
Yeah.
And it made me feel like, oh, I'd really like to see how this is actually written on a page.
Yeah, and I think he translates that really well. I think in terms of the plotting, in terms of what he chooses to cut, and especially in the case of the amount of characters there are, and how he is a bit more focused, and it's easier to tell who our protagonists are going to be, both because it's a visual medium and because, you know, he just kind of trims the excess.
We say that as Ed Harris and Kathy Bates are in one scene.
Yeah.
I still do like that element.
I love the inclusion because Starkey is an important character in the beginning of the book, and I like the inclusion and the emotion they give it to, and his sort of homoerotic relationship with his one guy. You know,
No, they were just friends.
They were just friends. So
they were the original Peter and
Ray.
Ray, yeah.
It's funny you mentioned that. I wasn't necessarily going to bring this up because I think it's kind of stupid.
Joe.
We will. No.
Okay.
Sorry to disappoint.
Joe's straight corner.
So, Randall Flagg obviously appears a lot through King's work, and we will talk about Randall Flagg not only in The Dark Tower but in other works where he doesn't explicitly appear, but a lot of people interpret King's other villains as manifestations of Randall Flagg, and I'll talk more about that in a couple months' time. I saw one...
Randall Flagg was Cujo.
I saw one interpretation that Randall Flagg was either the Major or the shadow that Ray sees at the end of the Long Walk.
I've also seen that. Yeah.
I don't agree.
Not as the Major, as the...
Oh, okay.
Thing at the end.
Because we don't know the Major's name as well, so I thought that was interesting. But the figure at the end is very interesting.
I think that's one of the downsides of having an expansive universe when you're a writer, is that people take any sort of interpretation and apply it to like a multiverse thing, and then it's just like, okay, you're kind of flattening it.
That's fair. I agree with you, but I was like, if people enjoy doing that, that's fine with me. Even though I don't agree, I prefer the interpretation of Long Walk where it's like Pete's soul and stuff. But
I prefer reading things like as the text rather than
the wider context.
Honestly, you know, some people think, the concept of like a multiverse or like this expanding thing is meant to make things so much wider, but in reality, it just makes things feel so much smaller.
It does. It flattens it.
In every universe, there's like a Spider-Man. Just like, what about a universe without a Spider-Man? Huh?
I think exactly. I think post MCU and stuff had big effect as well. Got to remember that this stuff was kind of novel at the time.
I think it also leads to, sorry to go on a bit of a tangent.
That's fine.
I think it leads to people becoming obsessed with lore as opposed to like actually interpreting text.
Yeah, because we've had this discussion, especially random example with The Backrooms having come out, a film that we really enjoy. Is the discussion of what is plot, what is lore, what counts as the story being told.
Yeah.
But I mean, you can easily disregard the whole Long Walk thing specifically of just...
Yeah, that's a very niche example. I understand
yeah, and
that,
it's like, it was literally written years before. But yeah.
It can be kind of a common thing.
I'd be interested to hear your opinion when we come back to this in a couple months, but I'm not gonna bring it up now, because even though I know you've seen that adaptation, I think it's taking away conversation that we'll have in another episode. But yeah, I think... Kind of forgot what we were originally talking about. I don't think.
We don't think on this podcast.
No. I think my main issues with the miniseries, again, is kind of, like you said, with the length, the pacing. I feel like there are times where it does it right of choosing when to go slow. And there are moments where I think it's actually kind of weirdly rushed and we're not spending time I wish. Now, a criticism I have of the book is Fran, in my opinion, is just as Stu is King's Hobbit. I think Fran is just as important, if not more important than Stu. When I was reading the book, she was the character I was most attached to. Stu was just the everyman.
Stu is Frodo, but Fran is
Sam. Absolutely.
Fran is Sam.
Yeah, and in my opinion, the end of the book, even though it ends with Fran, she is kind of shelved for the hero's journey of going to Las Vegas.
Yeah, I did feel that watching this. Yeah. I was just like, damn, they've really sidelined all the women.
Exactly.
I was like, oh, cool, the woman gets to be a mother.
And the thing is,
that is a very cool thing that all media does.
They either become a mother or they become sexually assaulted and kill themselves.
Genuinely, yeah. And that's a bit criticism you can have. I think it's handled...
Or a possible third option.
Or they kind of fall into like the... Not mammy, but like that sort of...
It's the archetype, yeah.
Which again, we try and...
no, they turned into Mrs. Brown from Mrs. Brown's Boys.
Yeah, but they turn into that sort of archetype. And like, we try to look at Stephen's work through a kinder lens than a lot of people do. Often people just like all his work is flat and being sexist. I don't think it's necessarily like that. So, but at least... with the adaptation of this, you can definitely see those. It definitely feels like a lot of the women get sidelined or get relegated.
Yeah, I completely agree. And it's sad to me because I think Fran is such an engaging character. And even just the choices of... I was thinking, I don't like how little Fran is in parts 1 and 2. They cut a lot of her storyline, and I understand why, even though I disagree. So... Fran, you immediately find out Fran is pregnant, and you see her relationship with her current boyfriend Jesse and how he wants her to either marry him or have an abortion. And she says, I don't want either of those things. I want the baby, but I don't want the baby with you. And you get a lot of Fran's agency. You see Fran's mother, who isn't in the miniseries, and her mother casts her out because of it. And you see her relationship with her father, which we do get in the miniseries. Yeah. She is...
I really like that relationship, what we saw of it.
In my opinion, like, Fran is the heart of the book. And it's a criticism I have of the book that it sidelines her, even though I kind of like her pregnancy storyline. I agree with a lot of the criticisms of relegating women to mothers, but for her, she does have the nuance in the book, I think, where it has that open discussion of sort of, she sees it more as... her her holding on to the life that she lost and ushering in sort of new life in this world. It gives her
depth of character. Yeah. She has control of her autonomy.
Exactly. Yeah.
When we tend to criticize how pregnant women or mothers are treated in stories, it's more just like a decrease in a character.
It takes away from their life. Almost.
And I think at least for you've got the context of you've read the book and they establish that she's pregnant up front.
Yeah,
they don't really do that. Because I got confused. I was like, "Oh, is it Gary Sinise's kid?" But no,
that was really weird.
It's due in like January and like
it's got an insane nut power.
And like at the end is like December. Just like you can't give birth to a baby after 6 months. That much I know.
Yeah,
I did say it was early.
They did, yeah,
very early.
I thought they fully removed her being pregnant because it wasn't mentioned up front. And I think what they were going for is, in the book, Fran doesn't tell anyone she's pregnant until that moment with Stu. And I guess they wanted the audience to feel more like Stu is our POV character. So if Stu doesn't know, then we don't know. But I think that kind of diminishes Fran's role in the story and takes away Fran's drive. Because you could say, like, why is Fran with Harold? She doesn't like Harold. She doesn't necessarily feel safe with him, even though I don't necessarily think that's shown fully in the miniseries. You know, they do a good enough job with it.
Yeah.
But
with that change to not saying that she's pregnant up front, and and then at the end she gets relegated. I think that's why we feel like it's stripping her of that autonomy.
Yeah.
If we'd known that up front, it wouldn't be as much of a
it would
ripping her out of the story.
I think it would give a lot more context to her decision making as well. Like
Exactly.
early on.
It would be like if Russell T Davies established that Belinda was a mother at the beginning and didn't just stick her in the box for the final episode.
I completely
It's like, hey, you should be a mother now, even though you were never a mother beforehand.
I completely agree. We won't go into it much more, but I fully agree. Just why he didn't just make it that Belinda had to go back.
Go in the box.
Just make her a mother from the start and have it so you got to get back because my daughter is alone. Like, I think that would have been fine.
It would have fixed so. Again, sidetracked.
But I agree that Fran.
I forgot about the box.
Genuinely
How could
insane.
you forget about the box?
I'm busy. I have a line.
They had to stick her in the box so they could shoot the bone.
I can't believe they literally put her in a box. That's so funny. But that is how I feel about Fran in this.
Maybe he's cooking. Maybe he's just like looking at it in a meta perspective.
Yeah.
Just like, this is how you view pregnant women. Put them in the box.
Yeah.
I'd rather be in a time locked eternity with my child than be dead.
Yeah, but I agree. Talking about the other woman, I agree as well. There is less women than men in the book as well, but you do have Nadine as more of a presence. I think you get a lot more of her motivation and how she is being manipulated by Flag. She's almost the dark inverse, quote unquote, to Fran of the whole like pregnancy. She doesn't have autonomy over that.
Everyone has like a counterpart.
They do, yeah. And Fran,
Very Twin Peaks in that regard.
Yeah, exactly. And Fran has autonomy over her body in her pregnancy, but Nadine doesn't until she chooses to take her own life and not give Flag what he wants, which, again, you can criticize that.
Yeah, you can read that as being pretty proper.
Yeah, but I actually think that in the book, it's more of a matter of what you see on screen versus on the page. It's a long-ass book. You have more time to devote to that slow character progression. And I think the McGarris did a good job with it, but it's definitely worth criticizing, especially in regards to then all the women except for Nadine and Fran, who, frankly, other than Mother Abigail, don't exist.
Yeah.
Like, I said I thought more characters would die in the explosion, the first one. I was really surprised how few it was. But, like, other than Nick, you don't really know any of them in the miniseries.
Yeah, they list off the names, and it's kind of just like...
I'm just like, okay, that must be the person who stood next to the ones I know.
Even Lucy and Joe, the little kid that Larry has a relationship with, obviously a lot more of a presence in the book. I don't even think they needed to be there for the miniseries.
It's to give more... what's the name?
Larry?
Yeah, to give Larry more
motivation,
I guess.
Which I get, but even then, I just don't think they did much with it. So yeah, I think that's the biggest criticism we could probably give is the treatment of women.
I don't know if it's just because we've been watching so much Jackass recently, but every time I saw Larry, I was just like, that's Bam.
Oh yeah, fair. I like Larry's casting. I think he looks like what I pictured Larry and Dylan to look like. But before we go on to the men, seeing as we're talking about the woman, should we talk about Mother Abigail as a character?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mother Abigail, I find her scenes very compelling, like in the dreams.
Yeah.
And I think Ruby Dee is a great actress. I think she's very good in this role and what it's requiring of her. But I love the aesthetics of it. The fact that it's in...
like a soundstage?
It's a soundstage.
Yeah.
It's very clearly a soundstage. But the way they light it and frame everything, it's... Maybe it's because a lot of stuff that comes out nowadays, and not to tar everything with the same brush, but there's a lot of stuff that comes out that's kind of flat. It doesn't really make use of film as a visual medium.
Yeah.
So
I mean, they reference like Wizard of Oz at the end, and it definitely feels like it's like hitting on those sort of notes.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And I just want to say, because I bought the Blu-ray of this, and that's what I watched.
Me too.
Did you?
I've watched the VHS. My part 1 and part 2 VHS tape doesn't work, and I don't know why.
Oh.
I think it's locked, and I need to just I'm afraid to force it, but I think I just need to grease it up a little bit. So I watched part 1 and part 2 on the Blu-ray, and then watched part 3 and part 4 on the VHS.
Okay.
But I was initially planning on watching the whole thing on it.
Having watched a lot of the other miniseries on DVD because they don't have Blu-ray releases, it was like a shock to the system to be like, wow, this looks like very good.
It's a really good
It's a
transfer.
very good transfer. There's a few shots where it's just like, okay, could they not master that shot? For some reason, that looks really, like, really rough. But then other shots is just, like, perfectly crisp. I'm like, okay.
Yeah, like some of the long exterior shots of the mountain ranges is just incredible.
Yeah.
Like they really captured it was shot in Colorado, wasn't it?
It was shot in like 4 different states.
They actually didn't film
Utah,
in Colorado.
Didn't they?
No, so sorry, I know you were listing off the states then.
Utah.
Okay, yeah. They didn't film in Colorado. There was multiple reasons, but I wrote down one I thought was really interesting. Is Colorado had just put a discriminatory commandment up for poll, like in local politics, that would be discriminatory against gay people. So
it was almost political.
So almost like as a counter protest, they chose not to film in Colorado.
That's really cool, actually.
That's cool.
Yeah, there were other reasons, but that was the main one they said on the commentary.
Because they were virtue signaling.
They filmed in Oconoquit, which is one of the places they film a lot on location of where the book takes place.
Yeah.
I thought it was really interesting trivia. Oconoquit, they wanted to film part of Creepshow on, specifically the segment on the beach, but they couldn't because they wouldn't let them film on the beach.
Fair enough.
Yeah, but anyway, no, I agree with the transfer.
They filmed that, it looks incredible.
Yeah.
So it's some really good use of film as a visual medium. Actually go into these locations, lighting.
Also,
just the choice of using a soundstage, I think, is very
for
cool.
the dreams.
I think this has the benefit over, say, like The Shining or Bag of Bones.
Yeah,
it's such a wide variety of locations.
Yeah.
So
it's pure Americana.
Exactly. It was kind of cliche having the 4 of them just walking down the road, but when he was playing and the music was like rising, it's just like, fuck, man, this fucks.
Nick Garris said one of his favorite shots is the shot of Nick and Tom riding their bikes like over the hill.
Yeah.
And I completely understand why.
I know it was only ever like speculated, or that Dario Argento. I don't think he would have done a great. No. But I would have loved like a spaghetti western version.
That would have been insane.
Yeah.
Just like no money, but like they have those landscapes and those massive wide shots. I think it would have worked so well, especially for the campy elements as well of this. I think it would have gelled better because I think this loses me when it goes into the more fantastical stuff. There's some shots. There's some stuff with Randall which do work quite well, but a lot of the time it's...
Yeah.
I feel as though those aspects age the worst, so I feel as though if you're able to incorporate... make it more heightened in a way, which I'm not sure I'm getting it across, but I think it would have worked a bit better.
And the location work at the beginning, like in like not Las Vegas, in New York.
Yeah.
Like, shit, you know?
They filmed in New York.
They did film
New York.
Yeah. New York.
Home of the apples.
Yeah.
And it's like... it's not time. Yeah, it's Times Square.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's just like, oh damn, okay, they actually had fucking money on this.
They really show the world, and you get that, you know, the contrast, like you said, between New York and then Abigail's home in Nebraska, and just seeing the different takes on society.
And I just love seeing like the streets like all like in disrepair. Like it's giving like 28 Days Later.
Any sort of apocalyptic media that can show the kind of beauty and the quietness of it.
Did they ever mention if the plague transferred? Oh wait, no, they mentioned Brazil. I'm just wondering, did it spread worldwide?
It did, as far as I know. They didn't explicitly say much in the book, but that's one of the things that the End of the World as we know it talks about. And King gave... I'll say this now, but I will talk about this as well next episode. King gave some rules on what they could write about, and essentially it was they could mention characters that are in the Stand, but they couldn't focus on them, and they could go outside of America.
Okay.
So yes, King might not have explically said it.
It's not like 28 Days Later.
No,
I like to quarantine the UK.
I like to think it's the opposite, where the UK is just fine.
Everyone else is fine.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, because we did great during COVID. We definitely would have stopped the plague.
28 years later, and the Stand are happening concurrently. Yeah,
that's so funny.
Yeah,
if you had to live
like
in
Norway is just fine.
I mean, it's hard to say because I was gonna say if you
which one would you rather live in?
Yeah, well, it's like if for the Stand, you either die or you don't. It's like you're either immune or you're not. I like that they never explain why they're immune. It feels more
because
like,
God chose them.
Yeah, it feels like the whole God thing. But yeah, that's the interesting thing with. Sorry, what was?
No, I just love media that deals with the apocalypse and immunity to certain things. Like
Yeah.
Children of Men came to mind a few times.
Yeah.
Obviously, 28 Days Later. I think it's a book, and they made a movie of it called The Girl with All the Gifts. That came to mind a few times.
That's cool.
It's about a zombie with an immunity.
Oh, okay.
Effectively, but she's still like a zombie, but not.
That sounds interesting.
Yeah.
I think I've seen the trailer for that movie.
Yeah, it's got Glenn Close, Paddy Considine.
Yeah.
In it. No, it's not great, but it's very interesting.
Why do you think you're drawn to those stories?
Because
you really like a poster,
Yeah,
like
you
a
like
nuclear,
apocalyptic media.
you like a nuclear disaster, don't you?
I think in some regards I'm a nihilist, but in other regards I'm very like happy-go-lucky.
Yeah.
So I'm just sort of I bounce between two extremes.
Yeah.
I think
do you think if, say, a nuclear disaster happened and there were survivors, do you think we're doomed to repeat our mistakes?
I would think we're not going to learn from it.
That's your nihilist.
Yeah,
I think it's interesting you're talking about nihilism, as I think that's kind of a part of the whole thing with the stand of, human beings will repeat the same over and over. Randall Flagg, you can't kill him. He will come back in another form. But I think it's more on then you kind of got to focus, rather than on taking that nihilism and projecting it inwards, it's like trying to fight it just within yourself.
I like to think that, although it's true, human beings are psychologically they're prone to cycles, both like on a macro and on a macro scale, as well as like just a personal one. But you got to think like, but the positives as well are cyclical. Like, people will always be kind.
Yeah, people are always fighting for good.
Yeah.
I thought it was interesting. King spoke in the commentary about Trash Can Man's role in the story, and as kind of how he was a humanized portrayal, essentially, of weaponry and the misuse of weaponry. He's obviously got a mental condition where he's a pyromaniac, but in the end, it's kind of his use of weaponry that stops Randall Flagg for the time being. And I think it's just interesting discussion of kind of war, and it's not as cut and dry as anti-war. Like, King's not saying
it's not a pacifist.
He's not a pacifist. He's saying like that had to happen essentially to defeat Randall Flagg. But it's not as simple as our heroes going in guns blazing. They appeal to the good in Randall Flagg's factions. They appeal to sort of not optimism. It's not like a kill him and everything will be fine. It's more of just a matter of be better, try to be better, and that's what influences Lloyd. In the scene where they're talking to, I always forget whether it's Ralph or Glenn, but it's speaking to one of them in the prison, and he tries to appeal to Lloyd's humanity. And it works. Not in that exact moment.
That was one of my favorite scenes, where you could just see the conflict in him. It's not like overt of just like, I don't know what to do. So, but you could just sort of see him within his eyes. Yeah. It's really good acting.
You really like that rat?
The rat's the one he ate.
Yeah.
In the book, it was a person.
Was it?
Yeah.
That's crazy.
Sense. Yeah.
That makes a lot more sense.
Yeah.
Yeah, you wouldn't last long with a rat.
No.
Yeah.
You wouldn't last long with a person.
I don't think he ate much of the person. Like, I'm pretty sure immediately after Randall Flagg came and saw him out. That was filmed in a real prison, and the prisoners left notes for Stephen King.
Really? The kind ones all like, fuck you.
As far as I could tell, kind ones, because otherwise they wouldn't have, I'm sure they would have said, that prisoner's cell that Lloyd was in was a child molester's cell. They found pictures. You might want to cut this. Oh. They found pictures of a little girl in there. Yeah. I just want to circle back to Mother Abigail while we're also like talking about hope and religion. This coming from Stephen King is very interesting.
Yeah.
Because he's usually so like anti-religion, just in how he writes things. This is a very
Christian story.
It is. King said in the commentary, this is how he feels The Stand is as good as he can do in depicting religious belief. And I think he does a really good job, because I like the inclusion of Nick being an atheist as well, which I don't remember if that's mentioned in the book.
Yeah.
It's in the miniseries, but I don't remember if it's explicitly said in the book. If it was, I didn't write it down in my own notes, so it didn't stand out to me as much. But in the miniseries, I love that bit of Abigail saying, like, it doesn't matter if you don't believe in God, he believes in you. Especially in this universe where God is real, I guess.
It's
I don't think it's
you can interpret it as it being not the literal Christian God.
Yeah.
No, he's probably the fucking turtle.
Yeah, it's probably like the fucking turtle, and he's just like close enough, whatever.
Yeah. It's just kind of some divine being, and I agree. You could even interpret it as it isn't God. I know we literally see like the hand of God, but I could say that's just for the audience. And when I read the book, I didn't necessarily think of it literally being a hand. Like, even though that's what the characters see, I found that as just kind of their own beliefs.
But they're getting crucified. There's a nuclear bomb. They probably have like super melting brains.
There's a lot going on.
I know. At least the 2021, they do kind of touch on a lot of the same themes, because that documentary I watched a few months back, Stephen King on Screen, the writer director that of the 2021, Josh Boone. He talks about how The Stand was like, he discovered that as he was like going through like a crisis of faith.
Yeah,
and that's something I'm gonna rewatch that segment for the next episode, because I do find that very interesting. As far as I'm aware, Mick Garris is not a religious man.
They didn't mention it in the commentary at all.
Yeah, it'll be very interesting to see it from a distinctly religious perspective.
And I like that, how, you know, we talked about the whole magical black person trope, but I like that with Mother Abigail, it's faith-based. You know, I think that is a stereotype, looking especially as a not American person, of Black America, is the ties to faith and Christianity. There's always those like stereotypes of, you know, black churches and things like that. And I think it's very interesting to depict sort of the force for good being an old black woman, an 106-year-old woman.
Yeah.
And you can tell that, was it Ruby?
Ruby Dee.
Ruby Dee in the commentary, beautiful woman, just from the way she speaks. She had such care going into Mother Abigail, and she was talking about Abigail's backstory that is in the book that's not explicitly said in the miniseries, about how she grew up in that house and she'd stayed there for 106 years, how her father owned the land and that was really rare for Black Americans at the time, and how the land around him was taken. And you could just tell that she put so much passion into this character. And she was getting emotional in the scenes where Abigail was leaving the house. Ruby Dee was getting emotional watching them and saying about how this was the mindset I was in for the character at the time. And I think it's very much, you know, and King gets criticized a lot for his writing of people of color, and I definitely agree. I think, you know, even Mother Abigail is unfortunately not free from being called the N-word in the book.
Yeah.
Yeah, not as many as it. Fucking nowhere near. I think there was like 4 or 5 times I counted. So not as egregious, but still, you could talk about the Kingisms.
It was of the time.
But I think that this is easily...
I think you should rearrange your books, going
How
from
many
the least
N-words?
number of N-words to the most.
Well, we know which one's going on that end. But yeah, I think that Mother Abigail is probably King's best written character of color.
Yeah.
Just by a mile, you know. Yes, you could argue again, she does kind of die to further the plot, but it's not like she's a sacrifice. She has her own sort of story arc going along. I love that in the miniseries, and in the book you don't get much of it either, her sort of pilgrimage to discover herself, where she does question of, hang on, I'm acting as the voice of God. I shouldn't be doing that. That's, you know, that's blasphemous within itself.
Yeah.
She's got so much depth as a character.
Yes. I like that they even mention, like, we use her as our North Star.
Yeah.
And it does feel like in the universe that makes sense, but also, like, feels like all the actors are gravitating around her. Like, she is just... For me, she is the highlight in terms of, like, performances.
Yeah.
As much as I like some of the other performances, like Miguel Ferrer, who else have we got? There's so
Patrick Starr.
Patrick Starr. Honestly, I
genuinely love
I
his
think
Tom.
he's great. I really like Rob Lowe's performance in this.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah, Yeah, exactly. And, I agree. I think I got emotional at bits during this. I think it's just natural with the music and the acting. But Abigail's scenes, like, when she first meets everyone and everyone comes out the car so excited to meet her, the scene where she's looking over her land at the end of part 2, right before they see the motorbikes coming, that really got me.
There was one part where tears were genuinely streaming down my face, and that was when she was looking at the lawnmower, because I was laughing because I thought it was really funny, and then I was like, oh, she's got the remote control for it. I thought she was just like laughing at a lawnmower just going on.
And even the bit where Randall Flagg and her have their first confrontation and he makes her hands bleed, the noise she makes of anguish made me feel so awful. I was so upset. But I think she carries this. But anyway, that's all 3 of the women.
Yeah.
Let's talk about the men. Should we talk about Rob Lowe?
Yeah.
Yeah.
DEI hire. He's deaf in one ear.
Yeah. Is he?
Yeah.
That's interesting. They didn't mention that in the commentary. Was he maybe not deaf at the time, or has he always been deaf?
I don't know.
Why did they refer to it as deaf and dumb?
That was so I think that was just kind of the slang term for it, because they even say, I think Julie is the one who says, oh, you're a deaf mute. So I think deaf mute was still the correct term, but deaf and dumb was like
new
the slang
concept?
I guess. I mean, deaf mute people, I say, do exist. If it's obviously like a contextual, obviously they fucking do exist, but they were definitely saying words that they shouldn't have been saying in regards to other characters with disabilities as well.
Yeah.
So
one thing I do like is when they are having the first town hall meeting and they sing the national anthem and he puts his hand on
that was so
Tom's
sweet.
chest.
Yeah,
that was beautiful.
How did you feel about the full national anthem? Did you stand up and raise and sing along?
Especially considering at the time of recording, it's July the 4th.
Oh shit!
250th. I was there.
I was there at the formation of America.
Yeah.
They should have called it America 2.
I was waving my flag.
January 6th, where were you?
Can I be honest? I don't know if I've ever heard the entire national anthem.
I was thinking that when I was watching it. Weirdly, I did kind of think it was a beautiful scene. I
think it was touching.
I was conflicted at the same time, but I think that was kind of on purpose in that they're using this to sort of remember and unite each other, but also I feel as though they're clinging onto a past that doesn't exist anymore.
I think that's on purpose.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
Plus all the heavy politicalness of having, obviously, the American national anthem and just everything that entails with it.
Yeah, I completely agree. But I really liked Rob Lowe as Nick. I think that playing a deaf mute character, I think you could definitely argue the whole idea of representation by getting an actor who is actually deaf and who is actually mute. But then there is that awkward in between of, unfortunately, in the book and in the miniseries, they do this as well, of in the dream sequences he can speak. Now, when I read the book, I didn't necessarily interpret it as literal. For me, it was more of a mental speak between him and Tom. But obviously, in the miniseries, they just went for the easier option if you can't actually talk. But even then, I think Rob Lowe did a good job. He did learn some sign language. In his opening scene, you can't really see it, but when he's walking down the road before he gets assaulted, he's signing the lyrics to Yesterday.
Is it?
Yeah. And he didn't speak for days on end on the set just because he wanted to get into that mindset and kind of explore the difficulties that a mute person especially would face in terms of having to communicate with people who don't know sign language. And I think he did a good job considering. And I think that he had, even though he couldn't speak, he had really good chemistry with Tom's actor.
I do like the almost borderline comedic scenario of having the one person who can't read his notes teaming up together. That's almost kind of cruel, but also just the way it was used later on was genuinely quite sweet.
I think that's what's beautiful about it. If you are just thinking, at the moment when they first meet, you're thinking, Nick is thinking, fuck's sake, of all the people I get stuck with. But then he grows to love Tom so much.
Their friendship is...
The bit where they meet Ralph and they say, actually, I don't know if it is Ralph, it might just be another white guy. There's so many characters in this. But in the miniseries, but when they meet and...
When they're cycling.
And he says, I don't actually know his name because he can't tell me.
Yeah.
And the whole M-O-O-N, I guess that spells Nick Andros. It's that's so fucking cute. Yeah. In the book, I hated the M-O-O-N thing until the MOON, that spells moon. I thought that, like, once it came full circle, it was quite beautiful. It was almost like Tom was being led there. Yeah. The actor delivered it perfectly in the miniseries. He made it feel really natural, whereas when I was reading it, it never felt natural.
You didn't have the voice of Patrick Star in your head.
Exactly.
I knew of MOON, that spells moon.
Yeah.
From, like, I guess...
Cultural osmosis.
Cultural osmosis, yeah. Or being on the Stephen King subreddit.
Oh, yeah, maybe.
But I've seen people talk about it before, and I was just like, oh, okay, that's what they're referencing. I didn't know what it was before this.
Apparently, Tom is based on someone Stephen's mother worked with. She was the woman was a housekeeper who worked in-house at a mental health support unit where Stephen King's mother worked. So she was in the unit, but they also gave her a job there. The woman's name was Ellen. King speaks really positively of her. And she apparently did once say of MOON that spells something that was incorrect.
Has he mentioned this story before?
I don't believe so.
Like referring to another disabled character?
Maybe Duddits was based on someone?
It doesn't ring a bell for me.
Okay.
Yeah. Definitely not in this case. Tom, like, this is the first he's mentioned of his mother's working at the mental health unit, but maybe Duddits was based on someone he knows.
Are we going to give this the award of best Stephen King character with mental disability?
Maybe.
Most positive representation.
Yeah, genuinely. I love Tom as a character. I have gripes, mainly with the whole God's Tom idea.
But he doesn't fight an alien.
He doesn't fight an alien. He wasn't an alien also in a weird version of the changed ending. But I love that Tom is, Tom goes on the pilgrimage. He comes back. He's the one who saves Stu. I think it's kind of, that whole idea of innocence, and I can understand the criticism of that with using a character with a mental disability, but also maybe it's because I've seen King do it worse that I can just appreciate it when he does it well. But then
it's like, how do you write?
Yeah.
It's like when and who does it?
You stick them on the Vitruvian Man's spinning machine, and then they'll become God.
Yeah, that's true. Maybe it's just because it's like a reoccurring thing in Stephen's work.
Yeah.
We're just seeing like one where we're just like, actually, it's pretty good.
Hey. There's a world where Tom could have had some form of The Shining and had been with magical powers.
He genuinely has a fascination of depicting disabled people in his work.
Yeah.
Sometimes it doesn't work, but you got to admire. A lot of people wouldn't touch that with a 10-foot pole.
You cannot argue that King's books are not diverse, for better or worse.
Yeah. Well, that's the thing. It's like a conflicted thing of just like shitty, but then it's just like, I mean, you don't want all his worlds to be littered with just like white guys.
Exactly. And then if not him, then who?
Yeah.
Who can write these characters?
Only disabled writers? Like, fair enough, but also that'd be a very dull world.
Yeah. And frankly, I've read books where disabled writers have written characters with their own disabilities, and it's not worked, personally, in my opinion.
Yeah, then you get the thing of just like, oh, I got to represent these people in a certain way rather than making a compelling character.
If only disabled people can write disabled characters, then only able-bodied people can write able-bodied characters, and then you get into like a whole thing of just like only this group can write this group.
We're flattening it, but there is nuance within it. But
Stephen King said himself, and we've discussed this in a past episode, of if he only ever wrote characters that were just, white guys like him, he wouldn't like writing.
Yeah.
And I think that
a big part of writing is putting yourself in scenarios and characters you have no connection with and trying to find what connects you to them.
And I think it's great finding interpretations outside of your own medium. I saw a post earlier on Reddit that was talking about the Backrooms, and it was analysis of Clark as a character as a black man in the 90s. And the person who made the analysis said straight up, they are not black, they are white. And they got kind of clowned on in the comments because of that. I was thinking, like, even though I didn't necessarily agree with all their observations, it's good to engage with stories that aren't your own.
Yeah.
I read Christine and read Dennis as queer. Not everyone would. And that doesn't necessarily negate the author's intent, but also you've got to understand the context that goes behind a story and also the context of the reader. I completely understand if someone reads The Stand and doesn't like Tom as a character and think he does fit into harmful cliches. It's all based on your own experience.
And if Stephen wasn't allowed to write outside of what he knows, we wouldn't get the character who's talking about white voodoo.
What?
Do you not remember that in the
no.
miniseries? It's a black guy, and he was just like, "What white voodoo is this?"
That's really
He didn't say white. He said a different word.
Yeah, so we've talked about Nick. We talked about Tom. What about Stu? Because he's like our protagonist, essentially.
He's the closest one.
He's a guy.
He's
a guy. He's a dude.
He's
cool enough.
Yeah, no,
in my opinion,
he's not as boring as he could be.
That's fair. In my opinion, he has the least going on, even in the book. That's why I say like Fran is the heart of the book.
Yeah.
Because I just don't think Stu has that much going on. But I think that his stuff at the beginning is really compelling. Because
that's the good stuff.
Yeah, because it's his group that you meet at the beginning. And when you go through that realization, and he goes through that realization of everyone I have known has died, he's the one whose eyes you are seeing that through. Obviously, with Fran and with Larry, you get their parents dying and their connection for that. But Stu is the only one where you see the sense of a community is lost. And it's very interesting. In the book, actually, they say explicitly that Stu was very much a lab rat. Like, they purposefully infected him with Captain Trips, and his body still killed it off. So you get a lot of the setup with Stu. So I think that helps, but I definitely think he's kind of the everyman, and there's nothing wrong with that. But I don't think I've got much more to say on him, really.
I think a lot of stories, they have these characters who are just kind of there.
Yeah.
And then the interesting characters orbit around them.
Yeah, exactly.
And I think at the beginning I was very compelled that, like, from, is it Campion? The guy who's infected? Yeah,
Campion.
His death, and he's talking to him, and he's holding him as he's dying. Even though it's kind of like, I think it's staged a little awkward. The guy's just at the back, just like talking about it. Or just like them four in a row talking, and he's just there holding the body. But that's a necessary evil for the scene to work. And then when he's in the facility and he's been observed, I found some of his like stuff a little hokey, where he's like threatening them. He's just like, "Oh, 'cause I'm a big tough guy." Yeah. And just like it seemed a little bit like, okay, you're not
fighting
really,
the Among Us.
So. I thought the concept was great. I didn't think it always worked.
Yeah.
But I generally like Gary Sinise. I don't know. I don't know why he was the one who got nominated for an actor award.
Maybe it's because he's in it the most.
Maybe.
Because I definitely think he doesn't have as much, like, he's not given as much range as some of the others.
But
he's sort of the connecting tissue. He's
arguably,
the glue.
it was the same year as Forrest Gump, and they were just like, well,
let's just give him everything.
Yeah.
Fuck it.
I do really like Stu's interactions with the other characters, like when he meets Glenn and I almost said Cujo. Oh my god, Kodak the dog. Kojak, yeah, not the camera, the dog.
Not the cameras.
Yeah, Kojak.
Picture me in Times Square with the Kojak.
I love that conversation, and I love his conversation with Harold as well. That's like it's an interesting trait to have a character whose essential characteristic is essentially they're happy to talk things out, because usually you'd think that conversation doesn't drive a plot. That's why miscommunication as a trope is such a big thing.
Yeah.
Because if characters just talked about things, so many things would be solved. But I like that with Stu, that with his conflict with Harold, even though it's still present, and in the book you get a lot more of just they don't trust Harold even though he's there. But Stu doesn't kind of mess around and argue with him and try and be the macho man.
Yeah.
He just kind of takes him aside and just like, I'm not trying to steal your girlfriend. Even though he later does.
I was so worried with Harold that they were going to go down the route of, he's kind of a nerd thing, but just because he got pinned off with Fran, I'm just thinking like, oh god, what are they going to do with this now? But they, I'm glad it wasn't just now he's a nerd, now he's the fucking.
Yeah,
he went down the incel pipeline.
Yeah, I think that's way more compelling.
I like what they do with Harold. I think that the actor plays him really well. Of his nuance of, you can tell he's in love with Fran, but he's a good guy at the start who gets corrupted.
He's insecure through the entire thing.
Yeah, it's really funny. Like her behind the window being like, "I'm not in."
Yeah, I really like that. The poem that Harold reads is one of Stephen King's first published poems.
I was going to say, Stephen King writes a character as a writer. Ding.
I'm glad I was genuinely scared. Like, oh god, is this going to be so insane? But then he turns into a piece of shit. And then it's just like, okay. And then Stephen actually shows up, so I guess that is...
I mean, this is when was Rage published?
Just before this.
Yeah,
I don't know
Stephen
exactly.
King. It might have been a self-insert if he's writing about
Oh,
school shootings and
he's got a lot
bombings.
he's got a lot in common with Matt Johnson. Self-insert school shooter.
But
he likes Ingmar Bergman though, so
Yeah.
he's got good taste.
yeah. But I like Harold and how they use his story in this. I think that how sort of Nadine, it's a bit less clear in the miniseries, in my opinion, about how Nadine doesn't like have sex with him or anything.
No, they
do say, but I don't know. I think in the book you get a good sense of the manipulation. Same in the miniseries, and I think Harold is kind of a tragic character, really.
Yeah.
I think his death is a bit more silly in the miniseries, him fucking flying off the thing and crashing.
That was epic.
Whereas I can't remember if he does crash before his suicide in the book, but he does. Again, he kills himself. But I read it as more of a genuine, like, he leaves a note and they find him and he kind of regrets what he did. Mm. And it's the idea, again, of radicalization of he was radicalized and he lost, even though they didn't like him, they were his community.
Yeah.
And really, they only didn't like him because of his own actions.
Yeah.
And if he had... Because I like the scene where he says to Fran of like, I love you, but no harm done, we're still friends, and you're with Stu now. And yeah, he's angry, he's like holding his hand so tight he bleeds. But I actually like the idea of if Harold just chilled the fuck out, he would have got on fine.
Yeah.
But he couldn't because he was manipulated.
Yeah. That's why I was kind of joking that he got Christine, but he don't. It's that mentality.
Yeah.
Of he's trying to become this sort of masculine figure.
Yeah. And especially when you consider Randall Flagg as like the most masculine figure
imaginable.
He's
like the depiction of working class America.
Yeah, he wants to be with Fran, he wants to be with Nadine, and Nadine is saying, I'm not going to be with you because I'm saving myself for Flagg, the masculine man of America.
Yeah.
You know, it's.
I do think it's interesting as well that evil is depicted as male and the good is depicted as female.
Yeah.
Just because obviously, what's her name?
Mother Abigail.
Mother Abigail.
Yeah.
Say Mother Teresa.
Mother Teresa.
Mother Teresa. No.
Your virtue signaling.
When
Abigail was communicating to them in his dreams, she was giving mother.
And Randall Flagg was giving daddy.
Daddy.
Yeah. Should we talk about Randall Flagg?
Yeah.
Yeah. What do you guys think of him?
I hate it anytime he changes into his monstrous
so goofy.
form.
I hated that because I think what's so compelling about Randall Flagg,
bitch, he's just a dude.
Yeah, it's like in the book it's like, oh, he is the crows, he is the wolves.
Yeah.
But I never read that as literal. So him shape-shifting is dumb.
What I liked about the beginning of it is that he is like so ambiguous. He could have sort of been anything.
I fucking love the shot of Lloyd seeing him on the telephone post.
Yeah.
And then he looks back and it is a crow or a raven. They were crows, but the actors were ravens, the bird actors.
Did they have a crow union?
Yeah.
Wait. The crow...
Raven Union.
Wait, so the
crow,
actors were
ravens.
And they were in Crowface?
Yeah. Oh. Problematic, isn't it? Mm-hmm. Couldn't get real crows.
No.
But no, I love...
They were cheaper.
I think that's what's so interesting about Randall Flagg, especially going into the book, knowing he's going to be in it, but him not showing up for the first third.
Yeah.
It's, again, this, like, presence of evil.
It's way spookier, I feel.
Yeah.
And by the end, they do have to sort of make him more physical so you can defeat him.
Yeah.
So he does end up just sort of being a magical dude who can shoot beams from his fingers.
Yeah, and he can do that in the book.
Sound effect was sick. That was pointed.
He can do that in the book as well, and I think it's stupid in the book as well. The only example of it I like is at one point he's with a guy, and King writes something along the lines of, he snapped his fingers and the man was no more. And I was like, okay, that's a cool imagery of, like, did he literally make him just disappear? Did he kill him?
He just never existed.
Yeah, I thought that was very interesting, but I agree, the actual, like, laser parts.
Do you think in a lot of these miniseries, King dumbs down his books for more broad appeal?
Personally, no. I think that it's simplifying and dumbing down two different things. I think in The Stand, it's a really good example of him simplifying and knowing what needed to be there for the story to be told. Whereas with The Shining, I think that he was so tied to his original book that it shot himself in the foot.
Yeah.
In terms of, like, broader appeal, I wouldn't personally say so.
Fair. I'm just intrigued about his process, considering he did the theatrical draft,
and
worked on that for almost 10 years, and then just like scrapped it entirely and started from scratch.
Yeah, I think it's interesting, like we said about Randall Flagg literally shapeshifting into a demonic monster. I could see that as being sort of a broad understanding of he doesn't want anyone to literally say, oh, he's the embodiment of evil, which you can get away with saying that in text, because King has always been very literal. I mean, think of like Carrie White, it was telekinetic, just outright saying things. But I guess my idea of their logic was, again, like you said, with the physicality, but just the idea of how do we show that Randall Flagg is more than just a man? Oh, he's got powers. Oh, he's literally a demon. I don't think it works. I don't think they should have. I think he's way more intimidating just in human form.
Work better on the page.
Yeah. Like for Nadine's assault scene, I thought that was goofy as fuck when he shapeshifted, and it kind of took the power away. Whereas it's very disturbing in the book. It's really upsetting.
I don't think it helps either, where maybe they're trying to go for like a big contrast with like afterwards he's just like sort of singing about, but it just read as goofy to me.
Yeah.
Especially like trying to depict something like that. It's just like, you got to be real careful.
Yeah, and something that McGarris will depict again in the future, assault scenes in Bag of Bones. And I do think the Bag of Bone ones, it's horrific, but I think it's done better just because it gets the realness of it. And I think the monstrous part of Randall Flagg in that scene is that's something a normal man could and would do.
Feel free to tell me I'm wrong, and if I am like extremely wrong, obviously I can cut this out, but I find it very odd in these scenes depicting sexual assault when a large portion of the frame is taken up by them breasting boobily, for lack of a better term. I know it's not really like what they're trying to show, but it is sort of, it seems kind of perverse in a way that I don't know, it felt like it was framed in particular.
Do you think it was sexualizing?
Yeah, and I was just like, obviously it's meant to be disturbing, but like it's framed so it's framed so that her boobs are like very clearly in shot. I don't know.
On one hand,
something about it kind of irks me the wrong way, but then, we've spoken about these kinds of scenes before, and,
on one hand, I can see where you're coming from in that showing that in that sort of way can be sort of viewed as just like male gazy.
Yeah.
But on the other hand, it is sort of thing of just like showing the body isn't necessarily sexual.
I don't think it is, but
I think I'm in two minds of it. It's kind of impossible.
I can understand.
Sometimes when it's like from the point of view of this is a man directing it, and it's meant to be this horrific thing, but
it's funny you say that, because I've seen interesting discussions about that with Obsession. Spoilers for Obsession if you haven't seen it, but the sex scene in that, where obviously when you think about the lore of the movie, it is an assault scene.
Yeah.
But it was that same similar conversation of, did Kerry Barker as a man direct that in a way that actually frames it in a certain light?
Yeah.
It's not something I thought about with this. Maybe having it's a scene that you see in the book, but perhaps maybe a better choice would have been to more imply it, because that can equally be disturbing. Perhaps even just cutting from the initial meeting of Randall Flagg and Nadine to him singing in the car and her being absolutely shell-shocked. Maybe that could have been enough to get the point across. It's not something I'd thought about, but I definitely agree. And I can think of other films.
It's something I think about, because I see a lot of, this is indicative of the time we're in. There's a lot of, you can go on social media, scroll for a couple minutes, and then you'll be like met with like hits.
Yeah.
It's
very sexualized.
The internet's very sexualized. I see a lot of like maybe like movie scenes or, TV scenes, and it's just like, oh, here's this like steamy hot sex scene, and it's like the character is like literally being assaulted in this scene, and it's like, I get that, because the human body is so sexualized in media, and it's not that we should, it shouldn't be. We should look at a human body and be like, that's a human body. Some people be like, human body, sexy.
We can't help it.
It's hard to separate it.
Yeah.
But then I see like these assault scenes and stuff, and then it's like, oh, these steamy hot sex scenes. Look how hot, they are. Just like, I don't know. It feels dirty, and I guess in that scene, I was like, I feel dirty because it's framed in that way. I don't know.
That's fair. I think that if that's your experience watching it, it's completely valid.
Yeah.
There's another assault scene in the book that's cut out because this was only included in the complete and uncut edition. It's the character I mentioned earlier, the kid, who isn't actually a child. So thankfully, we don't have to worry about that bit. But he has a sex scene with Trash Can Man, where Trash Can Man wanks him off, and the kid fucks him, for lack of a better word, with a gun, like anally, but it's like it doesn't start as consensual, but then Trash Can Man enjoys it, and it's that same sort of thing. We're reading that, I was thinking like, this is a little gratuitous. It's like how I felt about the scene that we talked about a lot with the It book, where which you know what scene I mean if you know anything about it, where the bit where it crosses the line for me is when it talks about Beverly's enjoyment of the act, because it went from looking at it objectively as a thing that is happening
to shock value.
Yes. Yeah. So I can agree with you in that sense. Yeah. And, you know, like I said, if that's your experience of watching it, then that is your experience watching
sometimes
it.
Sometimes, like, we've spoken about this before with, like, Perfect Blue outside of the podcast. And sometimes, like, these scenes, sometimes I'm fine with them. Sometimes I'm not.
I can argue for Perfect Blue. I think it's 1,000% part of the text.
Oh, yeah, no, I'm not saying it's not part of the text, but sometimes, even with that being the intention, I do still feel, like, icky. And sometimes I don't feel icky. It's just, like, it depends on how it's depicted. I can't, like, say, here's the line, that's where I draw it, that's where it starts becoming icky. Sometimes it's just pure impulse.
I think perspective makes a
difference. Like when we saw
difference.
Blue Velvet in the Prince Charles, and that, you know, people were laughing, and that one guy was just like, stop laughing.
Yeah.
Everybody has like a different line where they draw it.
Well, it's funny you say that. That's, again, linking back to Obsession. People are saying that with Obsession. People saying, how can people find this funny? And I can understand, even though I think it was Cory Barker's intention for it to be like darkly comedic, I can completely understand where people see it and think, that's horrific, that's not funny at all. And I think perspective makes a difference. Obviously, you're thinking of this like from a straight man's perspective. If I have a different perspective as a woman, it varies based on experience. But I'm
not saying you can't depict these things. It's just sometimes the way it's depicted makes me feel icky.
Yeah,
as an observer.
That's completely valid. So the ending is, I remember I said right at the start, I can't even remember if we'd started recording, that some people disagree with the notion that they take a stand in this. That's mainly because of the ending. So,
well, because everything just kind of happens anyway.
Yeah. I personally disagree. Yeah. I think the whole point of that pilgrimage and them going there is like the tipping point to show Lloyd and Trash Can Man and other characters like Whitney, who we see in the miniseries but doesn't really get much development. He's the one who tells Lloyd that a bunch of them are leaving. Give them that final push and understanding of there is another way. Almost like you could talk about it as a conversion metaphor, or just showing that there's more than just Abby, and there's more than just Randall Flagg. Like, you do not have to be in these two camps.
I'm going to vote for a third-party candidate.
Yeah.
I do think it makes it more interesting than, say, they show up, they kill
Randall Flagg,
and then everyone's just like, okay.
Exactly.
Having that sort of in-between, although I guess which can be viewed as less narratively satisfying than, say, good triumph over evil in a very clear-cut way. I do think it makes it more nuanced and thus interesting, although it does feel rushed in the miniseries.
I agree, and I think that another thing I've seen of people saying about how essentially then even the characters who made in the end the right choice, like Lloyd and the people who were going to leave Randall Flagg's camp anyway, all die, and obviously our good characters die as well for the cause. But in my head, that just links back to the whole theme of weaponry, of in war, you have soldiers who think they're doing the right thing, and regardless of whether they are or not, from your own perspective, they still die.
Yeah.
And, you know, you could say in this story, Larry and Glenn and Ralph and Stu, although he doesn't die, are all ontologically good. They're still soldiers. And when the bombs go off, you don't know who's going to be taken out with them. And I like that with the end. I like it with the context of knowing the additional ending of Randall Flagg isn't dead in a traditional sense. But I don't know. I wanted to get your two's perspective because people do find the ending disappointed. If you watched the miniseries not knowing where it was going to end.
Yeah, I thought the miniseries ending. First thing I thought was just like, well, okay, that gives more credence to what we were talking about in It.
Yeah,
cool. Yeah, didn't like the ending.
Oh yeah, fair.
I think it's more so like the climactic battle, for lack of a better term.
Yeah,
that was a bit hokey, and I didn't really like gravitate to that all too much. But the fact that thematically what they're going for, and you say in the ending they say that Randall Flagg is not dead.
Yeah.
I don't read that as like a literal like he will come back. It's just
no, of course.
Evil will come back in whatever form it takes. That's
I completely
just who
agree.
Randall Flagg is. He's not a person. He's evil.
Yeah, and it's interesting. Randall Flagg, you get name mentions of him, and one of the names that he's given throughout the book is Richard Fremantle, and Abby's full name is Abigail Fremantle. And I thought like that must be a purposeful choice of King to give them the same surname as well.
Yeah.
But yeah, I agree with you. I don't think it is a literal. It is him as a man, but it's just
you point that out to him, and he's like, "Oh yeah, crazy! Damn, I was on cocaine."
There was this funny thing. It was like there's a character at the beginning called Joe Bob, who is in the miniseries. He's actually a film critic who's making a cameo.
Roger Ebert.
And then
you don't know what that is, do you?
I know the name. I couldn't tell you.
Okay.
And then later on, there's another kid's name is Joe as well, and I'm just like, come on, King, think of another name. But there's also so many fucking characters. But no,
if you're gonna write like 125 characters, one of them's gonna be named Joe at some point.
Exactly, it's me. So I just thought it'd be interesting to get your opinion on the ending. What about like the actual ending with Abby's face ghost and the montage?
Wonderful.
I cried.
Incredible.
It's about to say I cried.
Well, like emotionally?
When it's did the montage of the characters, I got really emotional, even though I was kind of weird laughing of like, this is so cheesy and dumb.
No, it's
and
beautiful.
then it actually hit me, which was really funny because I was thinking like, other than like Larry, these people have had like no screen time.
No,
like it was
I think
showing
that
like
makes complete
fucking
sense.
Susan Stern.
This has been your life for like 3 weeks.
Yeah. Like Susan Stern showed up. It's like, I'm pretty sure she didn't have a line of dialogue, but I was crying. It's beautiful, man.
I thought the ending was sweet. I thought that was kind of like funny. It was
giving that one shot from Thor from
Life and Thunder.
Yeah. You know, the kid.
I was thinking of the bit in Masters of the Universe where Skeletor was like in the sky.
Yeah.
It didn't like affect me emotionally, but I wasn't like laughing. I was just like, okay, I get what they're going for the 90s. Yeah,
I think it was very cute.
I love that that struck you.
I really like the notion of them having the baby, and they're just like, we don't even know if the baby is going to be immune. And they're just like, that's something for us to worry later down the line. At the moment, live in this moment.
I thought that was interesting that they didn't confirm that in the series.
Another Threads connection.
In the book, they confirm that the baby has a different kind of immunity, but they believe that eventually people will become immune because now the only people who can reproduce are the people who are immune to begin with.
Yeah.
But one thing I thought was really cute is in the book, she gives birth to a boy and names it after her father.
Sweet.
I thought that was very cute for her character.
Harold.
That would have been fucking wild.
I know.
I could imagine though. Someone
we'll fix this one.
Fucking was it like Peter Harold? What Goldstein? Goldsmith?
Goldstein.
Goldsmith.
My Jewish kid.
Fran is Jewish.
What?
Fran is Jewish.
Is she?
Yeah, because that's a criticism of the miniseries. I saw someone said about it in the commentary. I think maybe Stephen King of why is she singing Amazing Grace when she's Jewish? But I just thought
I think that would have had more nuance to it being so Christian as well.
Well, that's the thing. I really hope that in the next episode, when we talk about that one, which is a lot more modern, we get a lot more representation of other faiths and see how that
will be cool, actually.
Into
the
Stand.
Yeah. But so that's what we're going to talk about next episode, the 2021 or 2020?
2020.
It was 2020 version of The Stand.
Yeah.
And if you're thinking you want to hear more book stuff, I'll be talking about the comics and the end of the world as we know it. in that episode. Very
if there's
briefly.
something we haven't talked about this time, we'll talk about it next time.
Yeah.
And if by then there's something we haven't talked about, tough.
Get over it. Yeah.
Or maybe we'll talk about it again when they make another stand.
This is one, I was having not seen this. I really hope I like the 2021. But this is a kind of story where I can imagine like another adaptation down the line. It's kind of like I said with Salem's Lot, where I think this is kind of endlessly adaptable.
There is one that's actively in development right now, even though we're only 6 years removed from the last one. But we'll talk more about that
the next episode.
For now, though, recommendations. I'm going to go first.
The intro.
My recommendation, and we talk about this in most episodes, we do bring it up. Usually myself or Joe will bring it up, but my recommendation is Doctor Who. We've actually had a while since our last recording. Since then, the show has effectively been put out to tender, which means it's
got taken out of the bag and shot in the fucking head.
Yeah. Look, they still want to make it, but when that is, we don't know. And even though earlier on in the episode we did kind of joke about how we didn't like certain aspects of the latest series, there's so much to that and to the show. You don't have to be beholden to any one era. There's hundreds of hours of TV, hundreds of hours of audio plays, comics, books, video games. It's endless. I was kind of, even though I was actively saying they should take the show off the air for a few years, it still hurt seeing my favourite show effectively get cancelled. But I've watched some classic Who since then, and it just makes me feel good knowing that even though it's not on the TV right now, it'll be back at some point, and there's so much stuff for me to go back and enjoy. So that's my recommendation.
That's lovely. Who's next?
No, Joe's next.
Okay, nice and simple one for me this week. I am recommending an album. I'm recommending Olivia Rodrigo's new album, You Seem Pretty Sad for a Girl So In Love. I've been a fan of Olivia Rodrigo since her first album. I really like her music.
I've been a fan of her since High School
Musical, the musical, the series. I haven't watched that.
Neither have I, I'm kidding.
But I genuinely like her music. I quite like pop music. I said about before, I actually recommended Conan Gray a while back, and she and Olivia Rodrigo and Conan Gray are actually friends and like collaborate a lot musically. And so maybe that's probably one of the reasons why I like this album so much. But I think it's a very good album. It's a good, I'd listen to it as a whole because it does a really good job of having energetic songs followed by sort of very mellow, kind of drab songs, essentially telling the story of a girl falling in love so much that it just ruins her.
I saw a very funny, heard it on the radio actually, a very funny interview of Olivia Rodrigo saying she was spent some time in West Wales, and her card wouldn't work, and she went into one place and it was the only place where her card would work, so she just ordered 20 sausage rolls there.
That's really funny.
Yeah.
My current enjoyment with Olivia Rodrigo is Conan Gray has been saying for years that he wants nothing more than but to have a skin in Fortnite. And Olivia Rodrigo has now got a skin in Fortnite. Yes, so everyone's like, oh, they're not friends anymore. But I do. I really like this sort of the modern pop era that's happening right now.
You're a pop girly.
I am a pop girly. Yeah. And Viv.
Joe made a spreadsheet of all of our recommendations.
Yeah, I did. I'm updating it right now.
Are you?
Yeah.
And looking through it, I realised I haven't recommended a book, and everyone else has. So I look illiterate. So I'm recommending a book today. Yeah. And I just finished
Very Hungry Caterpillar.
The Very, Very Hungry Caterpillar.
The Stand. This is when you reveal you've actually read the book and just not mentioned it.
I recommended the book I've just finished. It's called Little Fish by Casey Plett. It's a Canadian book about a trans sex worker, and it's very, very good. I very much enjoyed it.
Yeah, you've spoken quite a lot about how much you really enjoy this, so I'm definitely going to read it.
Yeah. I know Queer Month's over, but you can still engage with queer art.
No, you can't. The logo has changed back to its original one.
You should turn it to the straight flag now.
Just fucking black and white.
Yeah.
Yeah. Anyway, that brings us to the end for this episode. We want to thank you for listening through. If you are, if you are able to, get on your device and give this 5 stars or a thumbs up or hit the hype button or wherever platform you're on. We're everywhere. We're on everywhere you get
push
your
a button.
podcasts. Yeah, push a button. Do something good. Leave us a review. I don't know. If you want to send in your thoughts in regards to any Stephen King adaptation, we will actually have some time before we record our next episode on the 2020 stand. Get into contact with us. Email us at allhailthekingpodcast@gmail.com. Also follow us on the socials. All Hail the King Podcast on Instagram and TikTok. Pod One Out Studios on YouTube, where you'll find Joe and Viv's other podcast, which I think is currently on a break.
Yeah,
we're on hiatus.
We're on hiatus.
What did you call?
You've been put out to tender.
Yeah, we have.
But
no, we're doing a 1-year anniversary soon.
Yeah, First Time Flyers. It's a podcast where we talk about TV show pilots. And we just finished MTV season, and we're taking a couple weeks break. But on August 1st, we're actually doing. Garen's wearing an MTV shirt. We're actually doing a 1-year anniversary special, which is a video podcast. We haven't done one of them before, so if you want to see at least Viv and I, but I'm sure Garen will make at least an audio appearance.
You're gonna appear like Mother Abigail. Just in the car.
Yeah.
Have you ever seen Jackass the video game?
I've
actually played it.
You know how it's just they got Steve-O in the corner and he just doesn't say anything. He just moves his mouth.
Yeah,
that's gonna be me the entire time.
Yeah.
Could you actually do that?
If you get a green screen,
we are getting a green screen.
Yeah, sure.
Enough.
Yes, I'll do that for you.
But so we got that coming out August 1st, and yeah. So if you want more of us, we've got a big back catalogue. We've got 50 episodes because that show is weekly, whereas this one is bi-weekly.
Yeah, this one takes a bit more work in terms of research.
You almost said effort.
I mean, it does. I love First Time Flyers. I put a lot of effort into First Time Flyers. I don't have to read 1,000-page books for First Time Flyers.
Well, now you won't have to.
I know. I'm flying through the rest of the next 5 years of this podcast.
Yeah.
Because I will, what else big books are they to cover?
You're going to cover 100 pages that is so boring. You're going to wish you were reading this.
We've had a pretty good, I didn't love Mr. Harrigan's Phone. We've had a pretty good, run so far the last couple episodes. I mean, it's not like I've hated many of the books.
Well, you didn't really love Running Man.
No, Running Man is definitely the lowest point. But then since then we've had It, the 2 Creepshow short stories I enjoyed. Mr. Harrigan's Phone was fine enough, and then this. I mean, and I'm pretty confident on what I'll enjoy, at least what we're covering after the stand. So, don't know.
Okay.
Yeah.
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 Anyway. Well, we hope to see you next time. These episodes go out 10 a.m. every alternating Saturday, so join us next time where we talk about the 2020 stand. Until then, keep
on standing.
Keep standing. Keep standing.
I'm still standing.
I'm better to survive. Feel like a little kid.